going on, everybody? Good evening. It is Monday, March the 14th, 2022, 6:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. This is episode 145 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. And tonight, Tony and I are discussing what if the original Halloween had a remake in the horror noir genre set in the 50s in black and white. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! We are live, ladies and gentlemen. I missed it just by a little bit. It's because I got off to a slow start. We are live. What if Halloween had a remake set in the 1950s? It was black and white horror noir. Now, why are we saying this? Well, because it avoids doing the same hacking thing over again. As Tony sets himself into, black and white. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I never thought to do that. You know what? We should have done.
I think I'm going to do that.
You're going to do that?
I was in the wrong. I was in my photo setting to begin with. So I think I'm going to do it. Since we are talking Michael in black and white, what the fuck? Why not?
Why not? Let me see if I can do that. Let me just go to my camera settings here and see if I can do that. I absolutely should be able to do it. Let me see here. I don't think that's going to do it. No, that's going to bring it. No. That's not what I want. Where is it now? Oh, I don't know if it has it. I'm not sure if it has, and I don't want to take all the time to figure it out right now. I'll figure it out maybe when there's more time. But anyway, not a big deal. So Tony is very noir.
Yeah.
But listen, okay, so we had this conversation, and the reason why we had this conversation is because, well, you had started this a while ago when you were turning some of your Halloween photos.
I'm in the middle of preparing something for October this year, something really big, specifically for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Exactly. So I will let you dive deep into that in a second. But the two photos that I used on the thumbnail for our show today are two photos that you took from your Instagram account, from your where you were posting all of your horror content, and two photos that I really liked. So I sent the thumbnail to you, and I'm like, dude, do you mind if I use these? And you're like, go ahead. Yeah. So it was great because I really like those two photos a lot. And but what's interesting about this is that, we've often said that I believe that likely what's going to happen is that after Halloween Ends is over, they will likely turn their attention to Season of the Witch. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be the next day or the year after or the next, but I don't think you're going to get Michael Myers again. And I think it'll be Season of the Witch because obviously, it's less risk. It already has a built-in fan base, whether that's a reboot, a remake, a series, a film, I have no idea. But anyway, that's what I think they're going to do. But we had pontificated, we had thought about what if they had, because they likely will do it again at some point.
Sure.
But what can you do that hasn't been done before? Do we want to see 5 years go by? Okay, so 5 years go by. So you mean to tell me, and listen, I'm a big Halloween fan, you're a big Halloween fan, our viewers are big Halloween fans, and some people will disagree with us. But at the end of the day, I don't know if I want to see that story told the same way again. It's set, not that, so here we are, it's 1978, or even if it's modernized a bit, it's the 90s or the 2000s, and a 6-year-old child, Dr. Loomis is a psychiatrist, and comes in and says, we've seen this. Yeah. What can we do? I mean, this isn't a movie that relies heavily on special effects, so it's not like you think to yourself, we can tell that story better today because of technology. No, it doesn't, no, not at all. So what can we do that's different for the Halloween story? And there's other, series that you could probably do this with as well. But today we're talking Halloween. What could you do that's different, but tells a similar story, but maybe set against the backdrop of a different subgenre of horror? So it's not just slasher horror. It's film noir. It's horror thriller noir or something to that degree. And you had said, and we had discussed, what about setting it in the 1950s and that in black and white? Okay, which is also another sort of thing that might be something interesting there. Making Dr. Loomis not a psychiatrist, but a detective instead. Could totally see him wearing like a fedora and shit. You know what I'm saying? A little trench coat fedora or something like that. And you had mentioned something about how Michael isn't 6 years old. Maybe he's 16 years old. Maybe he's 15 years old. And right. And he goes to high school with his sister or something to that degree, right? I think it's what you were sort of talking about. But anyway, I'm going to let you dive into it here because you were the one that came up with this idea, which I thought it was great. And I'm going to let you sort of talk about this now and sort of where you see a possible Halloween horror genre noir thriller film set in the 50s in black and white. Maybe where it can go. I mean, it might be interesting. I'd rather see that than the same thing over again.
For sure. I mean, yeah, without going down the same rabbit hole again, and basically just repeating the same young boy kills his sister Halloween night, escapes from a mental hospital, 15 years later goes after Laurie.
Can you do it any better? I mean,
no, I mean, really, you can't, I mean, so then that's how this all really happened is just by dumb luck. I came across a YouTube video of a YouTuber who bought a book, and it's Batman 1919 to 1939. Right. But it's set like in the real world, as if like this really went down in that 20-year time frame, and it was just well put together.
I'm black and white now, baby.
Okay. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
We're good.
We're film noir now.
Film noir. There we go.
All right.
We're all in 100%. So, as I was watching these videos and skimming through the books and stuff, I started to go, Jesus, man, like this is really cool. Like how in depth it went. It's still keeping the same character arcs of, Batman, the Robins and the Jokers and Harley Quinn and Two-Face, but just in real world, you know what I mean? It's not like what we know. And I'm like, fuck me, man. Like you could do this with Halloween. So like, I just started to like, think like, okay, 1920s and 30s, I think that was too far back. Right. So then I started thinking like, the 40s would have been good, except you had World War II going on pretty much through that entire decade. And then I started thinking about the 50s. And then I started thinking about the innocence of the 50s and just how everything was bubble gum and the birth of rock. When I say bubble gum, I don't mean bubble gum like as in like the chewing. It just malt shops, you know what I mean? And kids going to get their, sun shakes after school at their favorite malt shop, and whatnot, and the birth of rock and roll music and teenagers hanging out and parking in cars and stuff like that. Because I started to watch a lot of, especially preparing for this, I watched a lot of documentaries, real like true crime documentaries, because I was pulling ideas of where I think this should go into, which is more in like that true crime vibe, and getting into the Loomis here in a moment. But then, believe it or not, I just said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to watch it, but I'm going to kind of skim watch it. And I threw on Grease, the musical. Yeah. And then like all of a sudden, like watching the scene, like I totally could picture it in my mind. I was watching the scene with Rizzo and Kaneki making out in the car. And I'm like, fuck, you could do that with Bob and Linda. And that's their new kill scene rather than doing the bedroom scene, they're making out in the car. And then I started thinking like, well, fuck, not only could you incorporate Carpenter's score in there, more probably done in a piano versus, the electronics, but you could even incorporate a little bit here and there 50s music as well, too, just to kind of fill the vibe. For sure. And then I started thinking like, okay, well, what I'm planning to do for my photo shoot is Judith is the center part to all of this. She's not getting offed in the beginning because we've seen this we've more than seen the Laurie Strode arc told in 3 different storylines. It's been beaten to death. It's literally been beaten to death. But Judith's character, she's been a throwaway character. She dies. There's nothing there. There's actually a lot there that you can do with the character if you don't kill her off in the opening act. I'm not saying you don't open up the movie with you have, and my cops are going to be the 3 guys that I got doing this for me. It's going to be Sheriff Brackett, Deputy Meeker, and Rookie Hawkins. So I'm taking the 3 key cop guys that have been in the franchise, and they're going to be dressed like police officers for back in the day. And they bring in Dr. Loomis, who's this experienced detective who they need help because this is their 3rd murder that's happened within the last couple of weeks. And they're, a few days out from Halloween. So anyways, back to Judith here for a moment. She's going to be the center part to the photos that I'm going to be telling. And her best friend is Laurie Strode, like sisters. Little wink and a nod. They're not actually sisters.
Right.
They're close friends, like sisters.
Right. Sure.
And Annie and Linda also. And then also and the way Laurie's character I would do this time around is not so much the innocent, naive girl, but just more like she's Judith's bud. And you can have her in a relation, whether it's with Ben Tramer or whatever.
Right.
I've thought about like, it'd be cool to like maybe have Bob as like kind of a greaser, maybe Paul is more of like the jock guy of the 50s.
Yep.
And Ben Tramer, you can have him like the Soch, pulling some ideas from like, the Outsiders and how their characters were put together.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the things that you got to do with Michael in this, and this is where I started to watch, like I was watching over the weekend, I watched Night Stalker and I watched a few other true life documentary crimes. I think you've got to make Michael not the stereotypical, okay, he's killing teenagers. He's killing everyone. So like you could open up the movie where it's a young woman, not a young teenager, but it's a young woman, maybe in her early 30s out in a field somewhere, or whatever. You
have
know
like
what I mean?
An opening like as intense and like, whoa, as the original Jaws. Like something where it's like, whoa, what the fuck? That'd be great.
Right. The woman screaming off the top of her.
Yeah.
Like you can have that totally in the beginning, even during the credits,
Yeah.
And then you go, boom, the morning, and definitely set in a Midwest farm town, 100% small town USA, because again, you want to go with those vibes.
For sure.
And then the girls that I've been working with on this project, which they've been a lot of fun and totally been helping me out here because I don't know shit about women's fashion. But just seeing the different outfits that the girls have been putting together and stylizing, like the way girls were dressing back in the day.
Right.
And not just poodle skirts. We're not doing just like, the typical, like that type of shit, because girls didn't just wear poodle skirts in the 50s, even though I know that's
it's true. But you know what also is so great about setting this in the 50s? And this is a huge thing. It was not traditionally, socially seen as a promiscuous decade.
Correct.
So,
except for the teenagers parking, right?
Well, sure. But really the 60s was the rise of that, right? And then the 70s, was, the 60s was the rise of like free love and hippies and all that kind of stuff. Whereas the 50s, people were more conservative traditionally. Right. And I think that seeing that, like, and you can play that into the characters in terms of like seeing the I don't know, because you could play on, there's this thing that is, there's this trope, obviously, because of the slasher film and how it rose in the 70s and the 80s that, and I get it, that if you're a virgin, you have sex, you're going to die. But you can turn that trope on its head, because you can have, the virgin survives, people who have sex die, but you can turn that on its head, right? You can have like the sweet and innocent virginal kids in the 50s dying as well. Like you said, like everybody dies. So it's not really based around, you look at what Judith Myers was doing. Halloween has been analyzed by cinephiles for decades. And one of the things, even, whether it's intentional or not, one of the things that is clearly defined is Laurie's a virgin. She survives. Everybody else is not. They die. And clearly Judith Myers, there she is. Sitting at her thing, topless with her hair. She just had sex for, 30 seconds with the guy and then she dies. You could have somebody who's sweet, who's conservative, who gets killed. Like, and the intensity, could be shocking to the viewer and to the characters in the movie as well. You know, where it's not, basically the film is not playing into that promiscuous trope. You know,
well, that's why I thought the idea of having, you know, the discussion with the cops, with, you know, Meeker, Brackett, and Hawkins there over this woman's body, that this is now the third body within a couple weeks. And the kills are very sporadic. The innocence in that naive of, you know, the year I'm setting my photos in is 1957. That's the year that I chose. I thought that was a sweet spot of the 50s.
57.
That was the big boom of the drive-ins. That's why, like, yes, people were innocent, but, you know, they were also promiscuous. And believe me, teenagers were going to those drive-ins for a reason, to make, mostly to make out. You know what I mean? That was pretty much the big thing was, like, did you get a hickey? You know, that was huge back in the 50s.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But in the 60s and 70s, it was all about,
it was about getting
orgies and threesomes. I mean, you know, let's be honest,
different.
Right? So it's very
totally different. So, but you can play, like I said, you can play on that innocence. And, you know, like I said, you could have a character like Linda and Bob in a situation where they're parked somewhere making out. You could even have, like, In the Still of the Night playing on the radio softly, not to where it's drowning out the scene, but like, oh, okay, people recognize, you know, you definitely, if you're going to play any pop music of the 50s, especially in 57, you want to do the big ones like Elvis, Buddy Holly, and other names, that songs that people are going to go, oh yeah, I've heard that before. You know what I mean?
You could open the film with like something like that.
Mr. Sandman. I mean,
what year was Mr. Sandman?
Just ask Google.
Mr. Sandman.
The original Mr. Sandman.
Yeah. The original Mr. Sandman was 1958. Ooh, close.
1 year.
Close.
Whatever.
Close.
But
if you set it in 58, you could do it.
Exactly. And yes, making Michael a teenager, and you could still do the iconic Michael mask, because the mask that I'm going to do, it looks like it belongs in the 50s. It looks cheaply made. But like you were saying, when I've been practicing with my photos and in the last photo shoots that I was doing, I was shooting my pictures and styling them in that old black and white style. And then when you take the cheaply made looking Myers mask, and you light it in black and white, and in that type, it looks creepy.
Oh yeah.
In color, it looks like it looks stupid, but in black and white,
that's it.
It fits the tone. So you can definitely still have Michael's somewhat iconic look, and I think that you need to have a payoff moment for that. You know, I think you need to have more POV kills leading up to it, and I think the kills should be very random and sporadic. That's, you know, when Loomis is on his manhunt to search for this killer, you know, the kills are very sporadic and they're very random. They're not, nothing is connecting, which again, stealing that idea of watching Night Stalker. If anyone watched that documentary, he was very sporadic on his, there was no method to who he was going to kill. It was very random. And I started thinking, like, yeah, that's how I would do Michael in that. I would have him be very random, different ages, not just teenagers. You could have him kill. I mean, imagine seeing Michael kill an old woman on the screen, which you've never seen before. You know, something like that, you know, something so shocking, like, you know, like, it's kind of how I felt when Michael killed the kid in Halloween 2018. I was like, oh shit. Like, whoa, like, not used to seeing that. Not against it. It was a good kill.
Exactly.
But it was,
well, and I think what you're describing here, what we're describing in although it's not the exact same thing, in some ways, there's a little bit of a parallel here. And one of the things that I appreciate about Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, now I still haven't seen the Batman yet, but of course I know all about it. I know the genre and what it is, and I've seen the trailers, I've seen clips, I've talked to people who've seen it, you know. So, you know, again, is that what you're doing essentially, especially with the Joker. I'll talk about the Joker for a second because I've seen that movie, so I can actually talk about it, you know, firsthand, is that I understand why people refer to it as a superhero film. I get it because of the character. But at the end of the day, it's not a superhero film. It's a psychological thriller. And what the studio has done is they've used the archetype of the Joker. They used the Joker to get your ass in the theater. But at the end of the day, that movie could have been told, that could have been anybody. It didn't have to be the Joker. You know, now, because it was the Joker, then you bring other things, characters and little things here or there, like little, Bruce Wayne and all that kind of stuff that come with that kind of a character. But at the end of the day, you could have told that about anybody. I mean, it is essentially almost Taxi Driver, right? So, what is interesting about this in terms of what we're talking about is, again, it's taking what we know, but, giving it a different presentation, doing a horror noir thriller, but using the Michael Myers character, but telling like this crime horror mystery thriller kind of thing about this detective who's trying to solve these murders. And it's set in the 50s, and it can be scary. Like, you don't have to make it feel like it's I think it would be smart to have a few 1950s in terms of stylistic, creative choices, filmmaking choices that are very sort of 50s, I think would be a nice touch, but you can still have it modern. It doesn't necessarily have to feel like you're watching an old movie. So there's no blood or there's no this. No. You can still have that shit. But I think what's interesting is that what I find interesting about it anyway is that you are taking something that is familiar, but you're not completely getting rid of its DNA. You're just presenting it in a bit of a different box. And and what a thing to do. Halloween, I mean, I think is perfect for something like that. The season, the holiday, seeing the kids on the streets in black and white with their 1950s ghost costumes and witch costumes and things like that.
Say, like back, if you ever look at old black and white photos of kids, how they dress in Halloween. First of all, Halloween was huge. Not that saying Halloween isn't big now, but Halloween, by the time you and I got to become teenagers, trick-or-treating,
it was on its downcline. Yeah,
it was on its downcline big time. Through the 80s, it was fucking phenomenal. It was great. Yeah. And I think honestly that was the peak of it. To be honest with you. Yeah. Now people are specifically, and it's sad. It's unfortunate, but people are going to specific neighborhoods that are safe to take their kids to. You're not so, and it's affecting neighborhoods like mine and other people in neighborhoods that not that our neighborhoods are bad. It's just we're not in $1 million homes, which is where typically parents are taking their kids. But Halloween in the 50s was huge. I mean, you had kids do not only that, but the Halloween parties with teenagers and bobbing for apples and just the innocence of that stuff.
100%. That's what I'm talking. The less promiscuous innocence.
Set behind this,
it's far more conservative.
Dark entity that's terrorizing the town.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, that's what I like about the juxtaposition of the 50s, where everything was so innocent, not so pure. Believe me, we know people were getting down. I get it. Of course. I'm not saying Elvis and Buddy Holly.
No, but it's like watching
I get it.
Sure, but it's like watching a Leave It to Beaver episode set against the back. Well, not. I mean, I'm going to the extreme, but you look at the Leave It to Beaver kind of thing, which is very Americana 1950s, right? Set against the backdrop of shit going. I mean, it is essentially the Myers house from the original movie. I mean, the reason why that is so. The juxtaposition of that, when you see the parents that are well dressed, and you see this little wartime home and this little middle class family,
exactly. The small houses of the 50s,
of course, because that home, the Myers house, probably would have been built in the 30s or 40s, so it would have been really sort of there. It's an old wartime home, so again, you have that. The difference is that you don't necessarily lean heavily into the promiscuous nature of what a lot of horror movies were doing in the 70s and 80s. So when you watch Halloween, there's a very clear promiscuous angle to it. You got Annie trying to convince Laurie to go out with Ben Tramer. You got her Dick Baxter or whatever his name was, and I'd rather go out with Ben Tramer. And then you got Bob and Linda, who are totally Bob, and then they have sex. Sorry, I just want to say, and then Annie is going on with Paul. I don't think you have to remove it completely. I think you can see it, but I don't think it necessarily has to be so archetypal in that way. Like, I think having some conservatism, the girl maybe only wanting a kiss, or she's conservatively dressed, but maybe the guy wants a little more, but he's okay because he really really buy into that 1950s sort of
and that's how I would honestly play Judith. That's exactly the arc that I would give. Judith is she's coming into her own as a young, or not young, she'd be 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
But she is starting to come into her own. Maybe she starts to push the boundaries a little bit with her boyfriend, but she also pulls back. She's not quite Linda. She's not going to make out in a car with Bob. You know what I mean? She's not totally there yet, but maybe you kind of allude to it. You know, maybe the boyfriend's walking her home as, you know, he's holding her books or something like that. And he kind of goes in and maybe he's a little bit too aggressive and she's like, you know, she kind of pulls back, something like that.
Yep.
And I would definitely make the other guys a little bit known, not like super known, but like, again, that's where the idea came in watching Grease over the weekend, thinking that, you know, you have the boys in there and have their presence in there. You know, if you want to have Laurie with Ben Tramer again, that's fine. I don't care. You can have Paul in there as well, too. So you make that these aren't just like throwaway characters. This is it's a group. You know what I mean? People like back in the day, that's how people did socialize. It was cliques. It was your group. It was your group, you know, it was your core group of friends. I had that, you know, in high school, or especially in junior high. High school, we all kind of went our own separate ways. But really, but back in the 50s, it was very much you were a part of your core group and core group of friends. So I would definitely make those characters establish more of their arc in this in this movie. Well, and you know, some of them are gonna probably get killed, along with one of the things that I would do when the girls are taking the kids out trick-or-treating, the babysitters, Annie, Lori, and Judith, babysitting Lindsay, Tommy, and Rachel in this, that not the 3 core kids, but a kid will get killed.
Yeah.
So you're also showing, you know what I mean? I'm not saying one of the main kids, but it could be one of their friends, someone they know in the neighborhood, whatever.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, what this is really establishing here is the destruction of innocence.
Yeah.
And so what is so important when you look at the 1950s and you look again, it's hard. I mean, even hard for us. It's not like we were around then, but certainly, you know, I have a pretty good grasp of the decade in that time because my parents were born in the 40s and you know, and so what is so, it's completely different. You know, I mean, television was barely 10 years old by the end of the 50s.
People were still listening to their programs on the radio.
100%. It is a very different culture. Very different. You know, kids were expected home at a certain time and they would do their chores. That doesn't mean that every single kid did that, but that is the Americana that's painted. You Leave It to Beaver, right? You know, you know, that kind of typical nuclear family that sort of was the last decade for that because the 60s just really destroyed all that, right? You know, the Vietnam War and free love and the Manson murders and all this kind of stuff. So I think to really see that 1950s Americana, I think would be really great because then you start to go in and totally destroy that. And that's what's being destroyed. All this innocent, you know, oh, it was such a simpler time, a simpler life, the nuclear family. We all ate dinner together at the dinner table at the same time. Hello, mother. Hello, father. I mean, that is what is painted as the 50s. That doesn't mean that was everything, but that's sort of what you see, right? You know, hello, mommy. Hello, daddy. How are you today? You know, all this stuff. Destroy that. Completely destroy that. And that is what is being destroyed in this town. Now, you could make the argument and say, well, wasn't that what they were doing with Michael anyway? Yes, absolutely they were. But it's 1978 and the nuclear family and, you know, I don't even think, had women's lib happened in the 50s yet? I don't think it did.
No, by the 78 it did.
No, by 78, but I think that was in the 60s if I'm not mistaken. So women, again, are very, very, very different, right? You had the homemaker, you had the mom that was home all the time. By the 70s, it was a very different time. The mom was always there doing the laundry, cooking the meals. Hello, father. You know, mother is, your father will be home at a certain, I mean, that was the 50s. Americana, 1950s. And to see that, to deconstruct that and destroy that, to see that destruction of that in the 50s would be extraordinarily uncomfortable for the characters in that time. because they're not used to this. By the 70s, nobody's having dinner together. When again, I'm speaking generally here, right? But you know, sex, love, free, all this stuff, and you know, nobody's having. It was a very different time. The nuclear family was not a thing then, really, and so I think that should be a big part of it. Seeing this, the innocence of the 50s, as you so perfectly described, when you're talking about sort of that decade. That's what I want to see destroyed by these murders. And I think the way you see that definitely is everybody's game. I mean, fuck, there's 10-year-old children that are being killed, and there are 70-year-old women that are being killed. It's like, what is going on here? And then you discover, oh my God, it's like a 17-year-old kid that's doing this. Like,
well,
what
and
the
that's the thing. Like everything, like with where Loomis, who's supposed to be that, he not a mediocre detective, but he comes highly recommended. He's a,
he's been on the job for
he's
a
city
decade,
detective. He's a city detective coming in to help them out.
Right.
And even all through his experience,
maybe he's from Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. Illinois, why not? Chicago, but he can even have that Chicago-like attitude of the 50s of that time.
Yeah, he's got a trench coat, fedora,
scar or pipe, whatever, or a cigarette, because smoking was definitely a thing,
huge,
especially with men in the 50s. And everything that he thinks that what he knows in his skill set of the 50s, everything is going against that because there's no pattern to these kills. And like you said, everybody in Haddonfield is fair game. And it gets to a point where, I don't know, when you open the movie, you can set it maybe a few days out, and then like you could have a kill or two leading up to the night of Halloween. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're debating on whether or not should they cancel Halloween. Maybe they put a curfew in place, where everyone has to get home at a certain time. And, maybe, I don't know, maybe after the trick-or-treating's done, Annie decides she wants to go off with Paul. So she leaves Lindsay with Rachel and Tommy, with Judith and Lori, who are watching them, and you put the kids in front of a radio listening to like a old school horror radio show, or something like that. So you've got that, going on, and then nightfall hits, and that's when like just everything fucking goes. You know what,
Frank here in the chat mentions something that might be interesting. You could have it, you could not have it, but it's definitely a 50s sort of film noir kind of feeling thing. He says the movie is all done maybe with we hear Loomis's inner thoughts. So maybe there's like
a monologue,
like maybe all through the film, depending. Maybe there's an interior voice monologue that sometimes happens. We're getting
very
kind
popular
of his,
back then too.
Very popular,
sure.
And maybe we're getting his thoughts. On the scene of the crime and people and suspects and all that kind of stuff. That might be interesting. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, that would definitely give it a distinct flavor, for sure. But you're right. I mean, there's so much you could do with it. And again, I don't mean. Well, I mean, you could do it. You absolutely could make a movie that is definitely shot modernly in terms of it's made today, but in its execution,
right.
But in its execution, it feels very much like a film that you would have watched in the 50s. So I'm talking about in terms of its gratuitous nature. So maybe it's not gratuitous; it's all done with. But the thing is, if you're recreating the original Halloween, essentially, is what you're doing. You're going to want to lean into that theater of the mind even more. And you can do that with the 50s. It's going to feel like an old school Hitchcock film, like a really old school Hitchcock film. And I think
but with a modern vibe to it.
Yeah, exactly. With a modern, 100%. It's going to have a modern sort of flair to it, but it's definitely going to have that feel. And, again, I know there are certain Halloween fans that be like, no, I don't, it's not going to make any sense. It's like the other day I posted a video on my channel where I went for a walk and I walked into this blizzard that suddenly hit. It's gone now.
Oh, yeah. That's how I picture Canada.
Yeah. No, it's gone 12
now. 12 months out of the year.
Every day it's like that. It's
every day.
I'm in Krakow, Poland. No, but so I shot this little quick video and I said that, what about Michael, again, maybe set against the backdrop of winter or something to that degree. And I brought that up, and there were some fans that were like, no, that's stupid. What about fall? The fall. I was like, yeah, but we've been there, done that. We've seen it. We've already seen it. And if you live, and you can vouch for this, Tony, if you live in the Northeast or the Midwest or here in Canada, it is not unprecedented to get a little sprinkling of something or a freak little quick winter storm that rolls in and around Halloween. Does it happen every year? No. Does it happen all the time? No, of course not. It's not the regular thing, but you know that it is possible. It's not like living in Florida or California where it's next to impossible. No, we're talking the Midwest, Northeast, and Canada. I mean, and Haddonfield is in Illinois, and anybody from Illinois, Chicago, anywhere, you know damn well that it's entirely possible to get shitty weather on Halloween where there's a brief winter thing that comes in. It's usually gone within the next, day or two, like, of course. But I always thought that might be interesting too. Like you have, the orange pumpkin against snow and red blood against snow and Michael's mask and all that. Anyways, that's a completely separate idea, but I'm just saying, the point I'm trying to make is that it comes from the same spot that your idea came from, which is what can we do that might be interesting and that isn't just the same thing over again. It's one thing if you want to because if you want to reboot the Michael story 30 years from now, okay, well then do the same thing over again because a generation's gone by. But I get people telling me that after David Gordon Green's trilogy is done, they want them to reboot it again all over again, like, 4 years later. And I'm like,
why?
Why?
Like,
you just saw this. Why? Because I want to see it again. Okay, well,
so we could complain about it,
right? But to Tony's point, it's like, okay, well, if we want to do that, why don't we do it like this? Let's set it in the 50s. Let's have it black and white, film noir, detective, mystery, horror, thriller, all these things that we're talking about. Or let's set it in, in the 70s, and maybe there's a freak snowstorm that rolls on in, and the power goes out, and the heat's out, and the people can't get it. Oh my God, I got it. Something that's different. Obviously there's room for improvement on these ideas and tweaks and things like that. But to just say, okay, we're going to reboot Halloween again, and we're going to cast this person as 6-year-old Michael and this person as 17-year-old Judith, and this person as psychiatrist Dr. Loomis. It's going to be set in 1988, and it's going to be in Haddonfield, and we're just doing it again. I love your idea. I think, yes, because Halloween, especially the first Halloween, it is that Hitchcockian theater of the mind, old school horror, even in 78. One of the reasons why Irwin Yablans wanted to do a movie like that was because he recognized that it was on its way out because of the more exploitative films of the 1970s. So he wanted to do more of a theater of the mind Hitchcock kind of movie. And where it didn't rely on blood and things like that. And, and we got what we got. Yeah. So to take that idea again, set it in the 50s where that was horror. Again, this is before Psycho. This is, old school black and white kind of stuff. Man, I think it could be frightening, like really scary and like deep, dark shadows and all that kind of stuff. Oh man.
If you don't think a black and white horror movie can be suspenseful and really good, I highly recommend.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite black and white horror movies, Eyes Without a Face.
Yes.
Watch Eyes Without a Face.
Yes, that was an inspiration for Carpenter.
It totally was an inspiration for Carpenter.
Isn't that a French film?
It is.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, like you just said, with the dark shadows, the hard contrast, if you watch Eyes Without a, that's a fucking creepy movie. And you can take ideas from that. And like I said, you can even go into looking up like true crime and true killings that took place back and use that as inspiration, as a backdrop. Halloween based on a true story. You know what I mean? Like something stupid like that. I mean, it just, like you said, I mean, how many times can you, I mean, and I get it. There is a fan base out there that
100%
care to have the story recycled all over again, just so that they can go online and
complain about it. No,
it's
but
just like,
and
this is what you're asking for, so now you're here to complain about it.
Yeah, and you could still have the Michael Myers mask.
Absolutely, but you could just don't, like, I think when you see what I'm gonna do and use, I think that would be, it's not quite plastic, but it looks plastic and fake. The hair is definitely not moving like there's literally, it's basically all molded together. And I think if they went with that type of mask, that's like, it looks like the Myers mask. So you sort of have Michael's identity, but it's not, obviously it's not the 78 mask and everything thereafter. But again, you don't want that, because a mask like that would not be around in 1957. You know what I mean? So that's,
and it's not because it's William Shatner. It's because that kind of mask was not being made back then.
Exactly. So that's why, like, with everything that, all the little details that I'm doing and prepping for this photo shoot, I'm making sure, like, even Michael's jumpsuit, it's going to have a 50s garage jumpsuit look to it. It's not going to have a 70s or even modern day jumpsuit. It's more of a jean type jumpsuit, that it buttoned up. You know what I mean? Like, and you see the buttons on it. That's how it was done back then. You know what I mean? And there's even some ideas that I'm toying with Michael being a clown in some of his killings, maybe leading up to Halloween night. Like I said, you have a moment where he discovers the mask, and that's where his identity, he comes into, like, this is what he wants to represent himself, but totally would do the clown thing, maybe a clown mask or something, just to kind of have it set the tone. And Michael is just, again, he's a very, he's more of a presence in the film. Like, you see him, but you don't see him at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, as the fans, you know, it's Michael, but it's more, it's like what Carpenter did, but I'm even pulling it back more. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, you see the arm, or you see he's out of focus. You know what I mean? Just enough to, like, like I said, it's that supernatural presence. You know, until you get towards obviously. I
like your idea too of having the film. The film obviously would be called Halloween, right? Or you could even call it Halloween or
Halloween 1957.
Yeah, you know, whatever. But what I like about it is that it doesn't start on Halloween. So in other words, it's building up to, like, Halloween.
This crescendo of, like,
is the crescendo, right? Where all these murders are taking place, cops are running around, Loomis is trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, and he's got his, you know, fedora and cigarette or pipe or something, whatever, and he's got his notepad.
And the reason why I chose the small town country vibe is that there's only three cops in this town, you know? And a lot of towns back then, that was reality. You know what I mean? Like, you only had your sheriff, your deputy, and your rookie, you know, and that was pretty much it. And so you bring Loomis in. So now you've got this small Americana town of, like, whatever, 5,000 people or something. And it's like you said, the backdrop of this is that you have this horrific thing going on that they can't figure out, because the kills are so sporadic.
That's right.
And there's no pattern to it.
Right.
And they're vicious. I mean, they are vicious kills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because if I'm sure you have, like all of us do. We've all end up down that rabbit hole on YouTube watching these old crime stories of these, you know, serial killers. Oh, and you hear some of the shit that these serial killers did, especially back then too. Like, don't think like these people back then weren't like, dude, there's some sick and fucking stories out there.
And you could do it even, some of the kills can even be really, like, it's not about what you see necessarily, right? Like, I know there is a section of the horror fan base that just love blood, guts, and gore, and they're all about gore, and that's fine, and that's fine, right? There is definitely a certain section of the horror subgenre that is more splatter oriented. That's fine, but Halloween was never built on that. It might have become that a little bit in the subsequent sequels, but it wasn't built on that. That wasn't the foundation. And so going back to that roots again, that theater of the mind, you could play into the intensity of the kills. You know, you take what we did with It's Me, Billy, with when Billy is on top of Justine, and you're not seeing any blood, but it's a very intense moment. It's a very intense kill. Billy stabs Justine 22 times, and you see the 22 times, and you hear it and you see it, and you see him coming up and coming down and coming up and coming down, and he's cackling as he's doing it. Obviously, Michael wouldn't be cackling, but you know what I mean, right? It's all about the intensity of it, and we knew we didn't want to show anything that would have been too gratuitous, because we were trying to remain in the same vein as the original Black Christmas, to be classy with it, right? But still, we wanted to modernize it and have it really intense. So, that's one way to go about it as well, as you can show Michael killing somebody. You're not seeing much, but it is an intense scene. And by the end of it, you really do feel, wow,
kind of like what they had, like what they attempted to. It's similar to like what they attempted to do with Karen's kill at the end of Kills, but better acted. You know what I mean? Like, and it was those close. It's those close up, intense shots, which I like, but that was just executed badly.
And usually, for that to be effective, you can't be cutting 36 times. So, for example, one of the most disturbing scenes in Halloween Kills, at least based on what people have said or things that they like, is the scene when Michael kills the couple, right? And he's got the guy over the kitchen counter.
The older couple, right?
Now,
love that shit.
Now the camera is stationary, sitting beside the woman's neck, and we're watching James Jude Courtney.
Yes, I see what you're saying now. Yes.
Now, why? Yes. Because we don't cut. And the same thing happens with what we did in Billy. So we had the camera on a Dana dolly, and we're behind the bed, and we're tracking from left to right. So we're not cutting. We're moving. We're tracking from left to right, but we're not cutting. So you are literally watching somebody get stabbed 22 times. And of course you have the music in there and the piano strikes and the intensity that, our actor was just coming down and doing this. And it's like, and I had people reach out to me and say, that was fucking intense. And yet we didn't show anything. But it's about the power of suggestion and leaving the camera there, allowing your audience to sit with it. Don't cut away. Don't cut 36 times to make it look like it's moving all fast. Just sit with it and have the performance speak for itself. Let the actors do their job. Let the performance speak for itself. And you see that. And that is a very carefully calculated, creative decision that we made based on things like that kind of style. Now, with Halloween Kills, again, it was just awkward to see this guy. We're just sitting there watching this as he picks up knives and does this, and he goes again, he picks up knives and does this. I mean, it wasn't as intense as what we did, but it's the same, it's in the same spirit. So I think if you were to lean into that kind of thing, you don't want to do that with every kill, but maybe your first big kill or something or whatever, where you can do that. You can not show any blood, any gore, anything, and you can leave your audience going, wow, that was intense. Holy shit.
Yeah, or you can do that. Or you could do what they did in Kills, which is what I really enjoyed about the scene, is having that kind of out of focus shot of Michael setting up his, ultimately his artwork, right? Which is why he's stabbing the guy, over and over and over again.
Right.
You could have a scene like that, or even an opening, or, however he's displaying, because like the point isn't that Brackett, Meeker, and Hawkins find the body. It's how she's displayed.
There you go. You know
what I mean? That's the thing. It's not so much like, oh, we just found. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like what Michael did. And it's something they've never seen before, and they don't know how to handle this.
Correct. And again, it can be very effective. I know I sound like a pro, I keep repeating myself when I say this, but it is true. What you don't see is always more effective than what you do. That doesn't mean there isn't a place for gore or splatter or blood. Sure, of course, those movies are fun to watch. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why you feel when you watch a movie like, Seven or Zodiac or, some sort of film that gets in here. There's reasons why they make you feel the way they do. And I think you can do that with a Halloween remake, film noir, horror thriller kind of movie set in the 50s, set in black and white. I really think you could do that. Now, that doesn't mean that the studios would go for it. That doesn't mean they'd want to take that risk. That doesn't mean, there's a whole other baggage that comes, it probably will never happen, but this is what if. And personally,
it could happen if Dave McRae ever wanted to do a fan film, it could happen.
Well, yeah, if I ever wanted to do that.
I'm just saying.
But the thing is that it's, as a big Halloween fan, again, there's many different kinds of fans. I personally, at least right now, ask me again when I'm 73 or 72, maybe I'll be like, yeah, sure, all right, let's see one, baby, because 30 years have gone by. Hopefully I don't sound like that when I'm 72. But, the question was put to me, do you want them to reboot Halloween like a few years down the road? It's like, no, I don't. Not because I hate Halloween. It's because I've already seen that. What are they going to do that's different? Why are they remaking this? So can they, what are we doing?
That's why I stress the importance of making Judith the center point of the movie and not the victim, because if you want to pump some fresh blood into this, we've never seen a movie where the story arc is based around her being the survivor of this horrific night.
That's right.
You know what I mean? That's pumping something fresh into it. That's giving the audience something new. If you killed Judith off, it's okay. We've been there. You know what I mean? But we've never seen a movie where she's now it's her. It's not the Laurie Strode story. It's Judith Myers. That's right.
Story. And that's the hook. And like I was saying earlier on the show, again, it's not the exact same, but there's parallels there with Joker and what they've done with Batman, although I hear that Batman is likely to get a sequel. And it's like, oh, that's too bad. But anyway, but I get it. I totally get it. And I know that Joker, they're thinking about that as well. But the intention making Joker and making the Batman, the intention was these are standalone films. Now, obviously, money talks, right? But at the end of the day, I appreciate that. I think you can have strong single, films, stories that don't need or don't lean heavily into the idea of a sequel. And I think this should be one of those things. If it happens to be just so successful, oh my God, it's just everyone loves it, whatever, then maybe you could figure out a way to do a sequel somehow, somewhere. But I think the film should end conclusively where it kind of feels like it's clearly defined that this movie has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And because
you mean like Michael does not survive?
Or you can figure out a way to leave it open, but it still feels like he's dead or he's not. I don't know, whatever, right? It feels like that because I think there's an opportunity here to.
No, Dave, I want 5 sequels.
People want 900 sequels. I just think that this idea of telling the story a bit differently is intriguing to me. That I can get on board. And like you said, making Judith the main protagonist and sort of leaning into Loomis as a detective from Chicago who comes into Haddonfield to help them out. And I love all that. It's great stuff. It's a breath of fresh air rather than seeing the same shit over again 3 years later. What? I can't, that is just, to me, it's on the same level as, and I respect this. I do. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you. I'm just saying that the most times I've ever seen a movie in the theater is 3 times. There's a few movies I've seen in my life where I've gone back 3 times to see that film because I've really enjoyed it. But there are people out there that have seen movies like 15 times. And I respect it. That's fair. I don't understand how you can go watch the same movie 15 times in the theater in its first initial run. I can understand going back if it comes back to the theater, but there are people that will see a movie 15 times in 2 weeks. And I'm like, what the fuck? I just don't understand it. And for me, it's on that same level where it's like, I like Halloween too, but I don't want them to reboot it 2 years later or 5 years later. Why? I mean, do something different or tell it from a different perspective. And this is interesting to me. I think it's got a lot. I don't know if they'll ever do it, but I think it's intriguing to really. It's like doing a Joker-esque Joker movie, right? Where you're using the Michael character to get asses in the seats. But if you think about it, if you were to remove Michael from the equation, you could probably tell this story with anybody. But you're using Michael Myers, and of course with Michael Myers comes some baggage like the name Loomis and the name Judith, right? Like Joker came some baggage with, the Waynes and little, Bruce and things like that. Sure, okay, fine. Gotham and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not the traditional Halloween story that we know, but man,
that's why I said you want to make it. You want to give it a sense of realism that this is, again, based off of some real true crime. So that, again, I'm just spitballing an idea here, like that even at the end of the film, even if you shoot Michael again and he's laying there on the ground and Loomis goes up to, and he pulls off the mask, you could have a moment where he looks at Judith and says, "Do you know him?" And she breaks down in tears and she's like, "That's my brother." Yeah. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like she didn't even know who was attacking her and her friends until the very last moment of the movie where 100%. Loomis takes off the mask and she realized it was her own brother.
That's right. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. 100%. That might
be black Halloween theme plays.
Maybe. Yeah. 100%. Like I like all that. Like that gets me excited. This gets me more excited. Now, again, that doesn't mean it would be a success. But if I heard, hypothetically speaking, we didn't have this. Like you and I did not have this conversation at all. We're not shooting this show right now. And, 5 years down the road, I read online, I found out that that's what they were going to do. And they had this person attached and they were coming at it from this angle and all that kind of stuff. I'd be excited. That doesn't mean the movie would be good. I mean, there's always room for it to crash and burn like an epic failure. But I would sit back as a Halloween fan and go, okay, interesting. That's an interesting take. Tell me more.
And if you were doing it as a one and done movie, just to really, really treat the audience, I would do it almost like 2.5 hours plus, just because you're not going to do a sequel.
Right.
So you're going to put a lot of shit in there. Like you said, you're really building up the couple days before Halloween, and then shit's going to hit the fan on Halloween. So instead of trying to cram everything into 90 minutes, you're only doing a one and done movie, and do a one and done, but give it that 2+ maybe 2.5 hour runtime, which has never been done in a Halloween movie.
Well,
the point of it is that people understand this is it. It's a one and done. Yeah. And here you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it comes down to the writing, right? You are writing a film noir thriller. I mean, you're writing, again, think of the Batman, right? And the style that film was, think of the writing of the movie. So the movie looks the way it does and it feels the way it does because it was written that way. So, obviously, when you sit down to write a film and you have certain things you want to put in and you're writing it, naturally it's going to evolve and take shape into the subgenre that it is. So it's important that a Halloween film noir horror thriller movie set in the 50s isn't just another slasher movie, because those movies are 90 minutes long. And if you write it that way, to be that way, then if you want to extend it to 2.5 hours or 2 hours even, it's gonna feel like you're having shit in there that doesn't need to be there. So you want to write it in the style of like a Seven or a Zodiac or
That's
whatever.
What I'm saying. Like, yeah, exactly. So very dark tone. Yes.
But it's also got a lot of moving parts in terms of characters and subplots and things like that. And you're on this journey, this ride, and that's what it is. And if you write it to be that kind of a movie, then you could absolutely have a 2.5 hour film, 100%.
Shit, they could even do this now, and I'd be excited to see this next year.
Oh yeah, I would too. I would be more. I'm telling you, if they said that that's what they were thinking about doing, or they were looking to doing that, or they had some writers doing that, I would be more excited to see that. Again, that doesn't mean it would be great. We could go to the theater, watch it, and go, well, that fucking sucked. I mean, it's entirely possible. But I would be more excited to see that than I would if 5 years from now or 3 years from now or whatever, I heard that they're rebooting Halloween again. And, you know, so-and-so has been cast as Laurie Strode and so-and-so has been cast as Dr. Loomis. And this is the story, little town of Haddonfield on Halloween 1978 or Halloween 1988. Or I'd be like, again? Like, again? Like, what do you, like, again? I mean, how many iterations of Halloween? We have Halloween 78.
If we want 100 of them.
I know, but I'd be like, I'm just not, I'm out. I'm out. It doesn't, but to be fair to those of you that do want that or may want that, that also me going, again, doesn't mean that the movie couldn't be or wouldn't be amazing. I mean, we could go watch that remake again, another remake, and go, well, actually, that was really good. I mean, you know, so, I mean, both things can be true at the same time. So, but if I just heard that they were going to do that, the two ideas, I'd be leaning towards the 50s film noir horror thriller idea set in black and white, than I would just another remake of Halloween again, because it's different and you're telling the same story, but a little bit from a different angle. And man, it could be scary. I mean, really scary, psychologically scary, with some real intense moments, you know? Yeah, I'd be down
on the
that.
back on the facade of the 1950s, you know,
right?
That,
the Americana.
like
that's what it's all about. It is about using the Americana, that setting of the 1950s, the conservative nuclear family innocence of the 1950s. Because again, that, you know, the Beatlemania and the British invasion and you know, the Vietnam War and free love and peace and Woodstock and, you know, Manson murders and orgies and threesomes and hippies, and that started in the 60s. So the 50s, and you can look all this up, like the 50s is really considered that last sort of, not that there weren't, you know, non-innocent people in the 50s. I'm just saying that that stereotype of that, you know, nuclear, sweet, leave it to Beaver kind of thing is the 50s. And to deconstruct that and to totally just destroy the innocence of that in the 50s, with this real intense murder spree that's going on with this detective that's got the fuck. And at every turn, like innocent, you know, sweet virginous girls too. Girls who are virgins are dying. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, wow, like this is really fucking, you know, Jesus Christ, what's going on here?
Good shit.
It'd be good shit, man. It'd be good shit. Let's go over to the chat room and see what you guys and gals are saying about this. I know some super chats came in, so let me go and get these super chats and see what you are saying. Here. So now is the time to have your word. So the first super chat comes in from Dark Light, sends in $2, says, have you seen Baron Blood from 1972? Very spooky. I have not. Have you, Tony? 972? No, have not. Sorry about that, Dark Light, but thank you for the super chat. Mike Skis sends in $5, says, hey guys, idea. Have one of the characters say something like, this reminds me of a string of murders that happened at a summer camp out east. I see what you're saying.
Little Friday the 13th.
Little Friday the 13th. That's not bad. It's not bad. That's, you know what? I'll give it to, but the only reason why I like it, I do. The only reason why that I would be hesitant is because fans today can't control themselves. And I'm not saying you, but you know what I'm talking about. You put that in there, and then all of a sudden, the world of fandom, it's connected, it's all connected. We use it, Michael versus Jason, Jason versus Michael, Michael versus Jason, Jason versus Michael. We did it. And it's like, no,
Jason versus Michael in the 1960s.
100%. 100%.
You know it, and I know it.
Everybody
500
100%.
YouTube videos the next day.
100%.
Pretty much, I guarantee I know which YouTubers, and it's going to be,
100%.
they're doing Jason versus Michael.
No, but like I said, I kind of like it. It's kind of a funny little, but at the same time, you could also, because if the line was just simply, oh, no, you said summer camp. So that really heavily implies
That's really implying it.
If you said something like, this reminds me of a string of murders that happened out east, then that really kind of makes it really ambiguous. And then why say it at all? Because then it just doesn't really mean anything.
If you say summer camp, that's
100%. I kind of like it, but I'd be worried to say it because it'd be like, no.
Every YouTuber out there would be like, they're doing it. They're doing it. It's coming.
It would. That's what it would be like. Geeked Out Turtle Fan sends in $5 says, don't introduce the mask right away. Have the killer use bandages as a nod to the Invisible Man who was relatable to the adults back then in film. Not a bad idea. You'd have to have...
Again, it's 15-year-old Michael Myers. So that's kind of 15, 16. We haven't really pinpointed, but somewhere in there. Yeah. He's like maybe a sophomore or junior in high school. He's a grade behind Judith. Judith is in her senior year. Right. Michael could be in his junior year or whatever. I think you need to go. It's not a bad idea. You could play with it and see how it works. I think the clown, especially a creepy clown mask from the late 50s.
I think the clown mask would be interesting.
And 50s, 50s clown mask for sure would be. That would be intense. And then you have obviously a payoff moment to where Michael puts on.
He gets it from somebody he's killed or something. Yeah.
Maybe, exactly. He's killed someone wearing the trick-or-treater. That's wearing the mask that he ultimately puts on. And, there you go.
Geeked. No, I got that one. Dark Light sends another $2. Says, imagine 1953 Alfred Hitchcock Halloween releases. That's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. Probably a little, it would be, because it would have to appeal to modern audiences. It would have to be more, again, it doesn't have to be bloody, but it would be more intense, right? It would have the intensity of a modern horror movie, but it would also have that feel and look of a 1950s old school kind of film. So obviously all the effects would be modern and the music would be modern and, mixed and all that kind of stuff. Like it would feel like a modern film, but it would have that flavor to it, that it would have this 50s feel. But I get what you're saying. Unimpressive Media sends in €5 and says, I think the idea is fascinating. Maybe for the film, Michael creates his own mask, being poorly put together, but still unsettling and recognizable. Maybe.
Well, I think in that regards, if you're going to have Michael again, and a lot of people did this in the 50s, they made their shit.
Maybe his mom makes it for him.
Maybe his mom makes him this kind of fucked up clown mask that just, I don't know, that just, again, if stylized correctly in that black and white tone. Dude, look up any photo from the 50s in these clown masks that kids were wearing back. They're fucking creepy.
They are.
They're really fucking creepy. Yeah. And some of them do look like they were handmade. So yeah, for sure you could do, and a lot of women did knit costumes and make costumes for their children back then. That could be something that they can, if you're a studio and you're making this, it's an option for sure that you can put on the table.
Right. Yes. 100%. 78 Shades of Shade. I like that. Sends in $10. Says, what if you have the movie not set on Halloween and call the movie The Shape from the Darkness? I think, then I think you just make a completely different, I think you would just use, different characters again, right?
Yeah, it's tough to call that and then use the Halloween characters.
Right. Yeah, I think. But to your point, then you just make a film noir horror movie set in the 50s. You know what I mean? I think that's what. Yeah.
That's actually a cool title for a movie.
Yeah. Or just The Shape. The Shape. I think has always been a cool title. So, but The Shape from the Darkness. Yeah, it's not bad. But in that instances, then I would just make it all new. Booster Seat sends in $2, says, can Judith and his parents be back in Halloween? Can Judith and his parents be back in Halloween Ends? No.
No,
Judith, they're dead.
Well, Judith is dead. I'm assuming Michael's parents are dead.
They're dead. They're not coming back.
He's in his, if they're not dead, they're in their 80s or 90s because he's in his 60s in this film, in this new run, right?
Yes, he's 61. So they'd be like 90 something, 80, 90 something. No, possibly in a flashback or something, but no, they're not coming back.
Well, you know what? Actually, now that you say that, and if they're calling it Halloween Ends, I wouldn't be shocked if they pulled out like a flashback sequence. Just, they're basically going to throw everything in but the kitchen sink. in this last run. I wouldn't be shocked. We probably wouldn't see Michael's parents, but I would not be shocked now that they've pulled the flashback on us with Halloween Kills, that if maybe because this is the final one in David Gordon Green's run, that if we get something like that, because it is the end. Right.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. Sweet tea. The tea is sweet tonight, ladies and gentlemen. For the channel, my friends, be safe too. You as well, sweet tea. Great to see you back in here. Excuse me. Very nice to see you, and thank you very much for supporting the channel. Really, really appreciate it. Eddie Chase sends in a very generous super chat of $20. He says, H5 closet. We both hate... Oh, the H5 closet scene. I get what you're saying. We both hate the film, but differ on that aspect. Okay. You don't like how he didn't kill her there. Sloppy scene, but isn't playing stalking classic Michael, kind of like Annie in 78. How would you have done it different? Well, I think what it is, Eddie...
Are we talking about Rachel's kill?
Right, yeah. I think what it is, Eddie, is that it doesn't... If Michael had remained in the closet... Okay, so in Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, when Rachel is, I think she's just out of the shower. I think she's just out of the shower. And you see, what's his face there in the closet, in the Michael mask, right? Don Shanks. And you're right. Michael's MO, part of his MO is to stalk, lurk from the background, there's all that stuff. 100%, you're bang on there. And he was definitely doing that with Rachel, right? A few times, right? Yep. The problem I have is that Michael comes out of the closet and instead of attacking her, he dips and darts the other way. It would be one thing.
And she also looks in that direction too at one point. If you really pay attention, she does look in the direction of Michael as he's getting out of the closet.
Does he? Okay. Or she? I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
I'll take another look.
Watch what she does in that transition, and there's no way you would not, the way how she, just watch it. There's no way she would not have seen him.
I will take a look. So here's my issue, right? Had Michael stayed in the closet watching her, okay, didn't come out, but it's shot. We can see his mask kind of in the background there, right? He's just kind of watching her. And then she leaves. I'd be okay with that. I'd be perfectly fine with that. Because that's what he's doing. He's watching her. But for him to come out of the closet in all his wide neck, brightly lit glory, which I think just looks so atrocious, and he's he has to get his head underneath the bar a bit, and he comes out and then he just kind of darts the other way. It feels, what's his motivation to do that? Why would he not strike at that moment? It doesn't make any sense. It's one thing to see him stalking his victims, but it would be like the door opening and him being in in the original film, the door opening, him there in the ghost sheet, Linda going, "Cute, Bob, real cute," and Michael just turning around and walking the other way. What's he doing? Why is the moment presents itself, he needs to strike. And I found it sloppy. I did not believe that Michael Myers would do that. It's not that he's in the closet. It's that he doesn't take the opportunity to kill her in that moment. He comes out of the closet. She's unaware of him. Why is he walking out? What, he's got to go to the bathroom? He's got to make a sandwich or something? I mean, why is he not striking at that moment? It doesn't make any sense to me. It feels sloppy and weird. For it to work for me, you leave him in the closet and we just see him watching. And then Rachel's the one that leaves and he's just there. And it's like, ooh, that's creepy. Because then it feels like he's sizing it up. Why did he come out of the closet? Why would he have not just waited for her to leave? Why is he coming out of the closet at all? I don't understand. Why? Does he got to take a shit or something? I don't get what's his motivation? Why wouldn't he just remain in the closet, wait for her to leave and then come out? So that's why it's bothered me, is that it doesn't make sense from a motivation character point of view. I don't understand what his motivation is. Now, I know what you're saying. He has no motivation. No, but I'm talking about in terms of why would the writers have him do that, is what I'm saying. From a writing perspective, why are the writers having Michael come out of there and leave and not strike? I don't, that's just so weird to me. It makes no sense. So that's why I have an issue with it. Yeah, he's got to take a shit. Rachel walks past the bathroom, and if you listen carefully, you can hear Michael in the bathroom going, "Oh! Ah!" Bloop.
Michael dropping the deuces.
He's dropping the deuces. But thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate that. Mohammed Nabil sends in 25 AED. Says, hey, Dave and Tony, one of three. Okay, wow. If you could only keep one 1994 released movie, which would it be? Pulp Fiction, The Shawshank Redemption, or Forrest Gump? Well, for me, it would be The Shawshank. If you could only pick one 94 movie to keep, which one would it be? Would it be Pulp Fiction, Shawshank, or Forrest Gump? For me, it would be Forrest Gump. Excuse me. Yeah. Shawshank.
I was shocked. I was like, what? You're not picking Shawshank?
No, I meant Shawshank. It would be Shawshank.
Shawshank, 100%.
Yeah.
I actually just watched that not too long ago. It's such a really good movie.
So great. So great.
It really is.
2 of 3 from Mohammed says, is it Mohammed or Mohammed? Maybe it's Mohammed because you have A there, unless I'm right. Maybe it is Mohammed. I'm not sure. My apologies. Either way. 2 of 3. Dave and Tony, are you fellas a fan of David Fincher's Fight Club, and why or why not? Yeah, I like Fight Club.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I
haven't seen it in a while, but I like it.
It's not one of my go-to Brad Pitt movies, but
same.
Yeah, no, it's when I'm in the mood for, Fight Club, I'll definitely throw it on.
Yeah, same. I thought it was all right. And then he follows up with 50 AED. 3 of 3 says, what are your thoughts on the Final Destination movies? I think the themes of anxiety, death, and fate are creepy, but a lot of the execution is goofy to me. But my fave out of them is the first. I agree with you. I do. You know what? They're guilty pleasures.
I've only seen the first 2.
I've only seen the first 3. So I can't speak to anything beyond that. But my favorite out of the first 3 is the first one. It's just I don't think they're meant to be taken too seriously. And I get what you're saying by them being a bit goofy and whatnot. And I'm surprised they've gotten as many as they have. I mean, I can't believe there's that many people that are just still wanting to see Final Destination movies. But, it was what it was when it first came out. I think they're kind of fun. All right. Have I got all the super chats? I think I did. I think I've got them all. I believe so anyway.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. No. What do we got here? We're going now. Only an hour and 17 minutes. What else we got? What other questions do we have? Geeked Out Turtle Fan 41 says, would you guys be opposed to the idea that Teenage Myers was inspired by serial killers like Jack the Ripper and Ed Gein? Or is it Gein or Gein? I know what you're talking about. Maybe he was always at the library reading and became obsessed. Well,
I don't think you need to say it so much in the movies, but I definitely think you can imply it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I've been saying, like, throughout the whole stream tonight, pulling ideas from real life serial killers,
right?
And using that as inspiration. And believe me, as dark as that sounds, believe me, a lot of these horror movies are made because of ideas from what's happened in real life.
Absolutely.
Yep. I think you can. I wouldn't maybe necessarily say Jack the Ripper, but actually, I just watched a thing on Ed Gein last night on YouTube. I'm going to send that to you.
Okay.
He's only charged for killing 2 people.
Yes.
Most of the victims that were in his house, he dug up from graves.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That was new. That was new to me. And another thing I didn't know. Now, I knew he was the inspiration for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes.
I had no fucking clue he was the inspiration for Psycho. I had no fucking clue.
Oh, yes, I have heard that.
Because of his relationship with his mother.
That's right.
The reason why he was digging up these women dead corpses is he was trying to ultimately reconstruct his mom.
Yes.
Through these dead corpses in his house.
Yes.
Which, obviously totally Norman Bates there.
Yeah, for sure.
But but as far as being a killer, now maybe he did kill more than that, but he was only charged for 2. There was a woman, like, I don't know. I can't remember the woman's name now, but I don't know if like she was in town or something like that. And then there was the store clerk lady that he shot, and that was it.
Yeah. I think when it comes to any inspiration for the character of Teenage Michael in a 1950s horror thriller noir remake of Halloween set in black and white with the detective Dr. Loomis. I got to go through the whole thing there. I would say that I still think it's important that we don't know why. And the reason for that is because you still want to play into Halloween. And with Halloween, there is a mystical, sort of dark, ambiguous nature to the quote unquote holiday. It's not really a holiday, but you know what I mean? And I think that should still be unknown. I don't think that magic should be sort of revealed. I don't think we should tear off the bow on that box.
You could have, when did, now I don't know if the timing on this is going to be right, but you could have, like, you know how I said the opening scene there where Meeker, Brackett, Meeker and Hawkins are, looking at the display of this girl's body, the way Michael set it up. You could have a throwaway line like Hawkins or even Meeker going, Jesus Christ, this is like the Black Dahlia. You know what I mean? Because the Black Dahlia was such an infamous murder back then. So you could have a line like that. Yeah. And people will go, it's an identifiable thing because obviously most people
and at that time it would only be like 20 years.
When did the Black Dahlia thing happen?
I want to say the 30s, I think.
So it's definitely before. So, but it's just that's where the officer's mind goes to because of how the woman's body is being displayed. Yes.
There. And the Black Dahlia, I mean, she had,
dude, that was bad. That was fucked up.
And I actually,
there's some sick fuckers out there. And for a person,
and I don't think she was ever, and he was never caught.
Nope.
That's, if you want to dive into
he's
that.
Dead. He's got to be dead.
He'd be dead now for sure. Well, and they don't know who did it. I'm saying, like, the person was never caught. They had ideas, like the Zodiac killer, right? There were ideas of who they thought might have done it. But yes, that's actually a terrific reference. Not just because it's relatively current to the time period of which we would be setting this film in, but that it's got an eeriness, uncomfortableness about that case. There is a very eerie, uncomfortable thing about the Black Dahlia case. Yeah.
And when you're seeing the victim laid out like that, that's what I'm saying. Like when I know some people might be apprehensive on this idea that Dave and I are talking about, we're not talking about, look, I love old black and white films. I do. But I mean, we know there is a campiness to it when you watch it. We get that. This is not like that. I mean, yes, it's going to be black and white. It's going to have a lighthouse vibe to it, but it's going to be fucking dark. It's not going to be, like what you saw from movies in the 1950s. You know what I mean? It's not like that at all. Yeah. No, we're like, that's why I started to think like the Black Dahlia reference would work because of how Michael is displaying this woman's body for the cops to see. For sure. And that's a terrific idea. That's a great line. But I think not knowing why is best because of the nature of the season, Halloween, the ritualistic sort of magic, dark magic, kind of stuff. Obviously Halloween dating back to paganism and all sorts of the sacrifices they used to do there. And there's a spiritual, dark magic, unknown mysticism, magical thing about Halloween that is very kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that needs, I'm not saying that Michael is magic with superpowers. I'm just saying there is an unknown factor that I think needs to remain there. You can hint at certain things. You can suggest certain things, ideas that maybe the police department talk about back and forth or whatever, but it's never fully realized. Super chat comes in from Diehard Drummer 84, sends in $4.99. Thank you, Diehard. Says D&T having double jaw surgery to correct an overbite tomorrow. Okay. Ow. Wish me luck. Well, good luck, my man. Good luck. I hope it comes out all right. Your streams will help get me through recovery. Amazing. Well, we've got 145 of them, so you can go back and listen for hours and hours. Good luck, buddy. Good luck, and thank you for the super chat. The Black Dahlia was 1947.
Oh, was it 47? Oh, I thought it was earlier.
So the reference is for them, if we're setting this in 57, that's definitely would be a very, for them at the time.
30s. That's so weird. Why did I think it was the 30s?
So that line would actually really,
47. Okay. For some reason, I thought it was the 30s. It might have been because the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Now, to a lot of people, you might know that name because of the recent.
Isn't that what the girl like went
in the water tower?
Or some shit?
Yeah. Well, the Cecil Hotel, I've been there, and not inside, obviously, because it was closed. But a few years ago, when I was in Los Angeles, my girlfriend and I, we sort of tracked Elisa Lam's last kind of walk, and it is on the cusp of Skid Row. And it's not.
Oh, there's no doubt somebody in Skid Row killed her.
No doubt. Well, they believe actually it was of her own doing because of the medication she was on. It's a whole thing. But anyway, that being said, the Cecil Hotel has a dark past, and it was built in 1920 something. It was, I believe, where Richard Ramirez, the
Night
Stalker, he was there for he lived there for like a month. He murdered people there. About, I think, like 7 or 8 people have committed suicide there by jumping off the fucking out of the windows and shit. It's a bad place. And they've tried to sort of rebrand it over the years. It's been closed now for about 5 years. And anyways, we went down there and we turned a corner, walked down there, and you could smell the urine and shit. It's a seedy place of LA.
Bro, you got balls of steel. I've seen where it's located on videos, and that's,
yeah. Well,
Skid Row. That's not anything to joke about.
It's not, and it's not where all the tents are. It's like a block or two from Skid Row, but it's in the vicinity, and I have photos of the Cecil. Anyway, so we were down there and whatnot. But if you do digging, you learn that it's not just Elisa Lam. It's not just, Ramirez. There's a whole dark history on this hotel.
Bad shit.
Like a lot of bad shit that makes you really difficult. It's difficult to believe in coincidences, when you start to read the shit. Anyways, one of the places that the Black Dahlia was supposedly last seen was at the Cecil Hotel. And was one of the places where she was last seen, like in the bar there or something back in I thought it was the 30s, but I guess it was 1947.
Crazy.
So, yeah, and her murder was frightening. I mean, I think she was chopped up, right? I think she was.
Yeah.
It was just her torso or something, and she was cut like the fucking Joker. Like she was cut like
I said,
like a Joker smile. Like it was like, whoa.
When you think about humanity and the things that people could do to other people, it's like, look, I know we're all horror fans, but at the end of the day, there's no way I could ever do that to another individual. I mean, unless I'm defending myself, that's entirely
well, yeah, you're defending your life or the life of your wife or your whatever. I mean, that's
different. But like actually to have the mentality to do that and the stomach to do that, like.
Dude, I can't even, when I've watched true crime, I will sit there and I'll watch and you'll find out that so-and-so turns around and murders his wife of 25 years. They have children together. And it's not like he goes up and shoots her. It's not that that's better. I'm just saying that it's like he stabs her, 75 times. And I'm thinking, I can't even imagine being because I'm not psychotic. That's probably why. But it's like at one point you loved this person, you got married, and now 25 years later, like, I can't even get a divorce. I mean, for real. What the fuck, dude?
For real. That's like the fucking thing I would sit there if I ever had a chance to have a conversation with him. Like, bro, Scott Peterson, you really couldn't have just
Scott Peterson.
You couldn't have just divorced your fucking wife and just let her have the kid and like,
I know.
No, you have to fucking kill her, dude. Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, come on, dude. Jesus.
I know. It's crazy. It's insane. Fast forwards to 89.
There's the classic OJ.
Oh, well, yeah.
Which that's more jealousy. That's
jealousy. I mean, that's jealousy.
That's jealousy driven to rage.
And anybody who thinks OJ is innocent is like, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Have fun with that. Fast forwards 289 sends $9.99 says, what's up, D&T? I know how Halloween ends. At the end, Michael and Laurie will look into each other's eyes and walk off into the sunset, holding hands with Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now playing. Yes, that's what it is. You are absolutely correct. That is what is going to be said. Yes, yes. Cuts to black. The credits roll. Directed by David Gordon Green. Can you imagine?
All jokes aside, though, that's my jam. That song and the movie.
It's a great tune.
The movie that it's from, Mannequin. Guilty fucking pleasure 80 movie of mine. I love that movie.
It's a great tune, dude. It's a great tune.
You know, for years, I never realized. I mean, I knew what's his name was in the movie. Adam McCarthy, not Adam McCarthy. What's the guy's name?
In Mannequin?
McCarthy. Yeah. Jesus Christ. I'm drawing a blank. Not Adam McCarthy. It's something McCarthy.
Andrew McCarthy.
Andrew McCarthy. Yeah.
Andrew McCarthy.
But for years, I didn't realize the woman was what's her name? And she's
Kim
been in
Cattrall?
a lot of shit. Yeah, Kim Cattrall.
Yeah.
And she's been in a lot of shit. You know, I never for years I never put the two together. And then not only that, I never knew that it was Christy Swanson who played the mannequin in part 2. I had no idea.
Oh, I haven't seen part 2.
No, I haven't seen part 2 either. The first one was great. I mean, it not only was the first, not only is that movie great, but you know who is great in that movie with the two of them is the security guard there, who's also in Police Academy. He's just fucking great. He plays the part great. Yeah, he's the security guard in the mall. That Andrew McCarthy and what's her name are in.
Hang on. In part 2?
No, part 1.
Oh, okay. Let me just see.
He's in Police Academy as well too. He plays the
not G.W. Bailey? No. Fuck, I don't know. Is it G.W. Bailey? Because he plays like the main lead guy or the main officer at the police academy.
Oh, hold on.
He plays what's his face? He plays
G.W. Bailey.
Yeah, he plays Lieutenant Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is he a cop in Mannequin? I thought he was a security guard in Mannequin.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant security guard in Police Academy. Oh, I was
no.
I get you now.
He's a security guard in Mannequin, and
right.
He's the head. Hey, he's like the head of the academy or one of the head people.
Yeah. So I was right. G.W. Bailey. Yeah.
Yeah, because Andrew McCarthy is he's part of the Brat Pack, right? Wasn't he part of that?
I don't know.
Group. The Demi Moore, because he was in St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh, okay.
And because he's in that with Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe. I think he's also in Pretty in Pink. I think, right, guys? Because that's him. Robert Downey Jr. No, Robert Downey Jr.'s in Weird Science.
Anthony Michael Hall is in Weird Science.
Well, no, Robert Downey Jr. is as well too.
Oh yeah.
I think that's one of his first movies. Yeah. Not first movies, but it's one of his first movies.
Yeah, he was in Mannequin, Weekend at Bernie's,
St. Elmo's Fire,
St. Elmo's Fire. Yeah, Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink. Yeah. See, I knew he was in Pretty in Pink.
Yeah, Pretty in Pink. Yeah. What's he done recently? Let's see here.
I don't know, but we need to do like a John Hughes run.
We should do a John Hughes run.
We watch all the classic Hughes movies.
That'll get a lot of people tuning in. Yeah. Not.
If you're not no, definitely not. Unless you're.
Can you imagine people go tonight? We're Dave and Tony are watching Pretty in Pink.
Not true. Not true. I think.
Yeah, maybe everybody over 40 might tune in.
Yeah,
that's about it.
I think we've got enough people who are John Hughes fans in the chat room.
Everybody under 25 would be like, who?
What the fuck? Who's John Hughes?
Who?
He pretty much wrote all the 80s movies.
So it's going to be.
Literally.
Unimpressive Media sends in €2 and says, a Cecil Hotel noir-inspired thriller could be cool. Yeah, that might be interesting.
A Cecil Hotel movie in general.
Would be interesting.
Would be fucking great.
Yeah. Eddie Chase sends in $9.99, says, challenge. You both are commissioned to develop Halloween TV series. What you focus on, storylines, etc. Charlie Bowles, Loomis series, and Crazy Patients, ending with him being given Michael. Well, I wouldn't choose the Loomis thing because
none of the above.
Yeah. And
I would do Season of the Witch.
The Charlie Bowles
thing.
Yeah. The Charlie Bowles thing, I don't think is really a series. I think it's more just maybe a one-off film or something. I would probably, I mean, listen, for commercial success, yeah, you'd probably have to do Season of the Witch, you know. I wouldn't want to do Loomis because I've said it 1,000 times.
No, I'm not saying you couldn't do a Charlie Bowles part of the like if you were doing Halloween 3 anthology type stories.
Yeah, you could do Charlie Bowles then.
Bowles as a story, yeah. Because if you're formatting it in like a Tales of a Crypt type thing where you're having different type of thing, yeah, totally.
That's right.
But we know it's set within this like Netflix series of Halloween stories.
Right. Exactly. But the Loomis thing I've always said is a no-go for me because, Michael is, I've never gotten the impression that Loomis's past was anything to write home about. I think Loomis was pretty ordinary, a run-of-the-mill psychiatrist. He was a good psychiatrist. He may have been a bit of a hard ass and maybe, whatever, but I never got the impression that he was a man of science. And it wasn't until he met Michael where he started to question that. I mean, it's all in his monologue, right? I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall, looking at this night. I met this 6-year-old child's blank, pale, emotionless face, the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I mean, there's something about Michael. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, then I was 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized, look how those eyes brilliant, simply evil. There's something about Michael that is different, and he can't quite quantify it. He can't quite measure it. He's trying to intellectualize it. That's him spewing that monologue to Brackett is Loomis trying to intellectualize it. And Brackett, he's not a dumb guy, but he's a cop, and he writes it off as just what? Fancy talk, right? So there's nothing, even Loomis doesn't quite know what Michael is. He just knows is not what he thinks he is. So I've always gotten the impression that Loomis was just, I don't think he was dealing with crazy, wild, interesting, mystical, people. So a Loomis series, it's not that you couldn't do it, but I think if you have a Loomis series, you got to make the patients he's dealing with just as interesting and as crazy. And I think if you do that, you water down Michael. And then if you make it a Loomis series about Michael the early years, then you just water down Michael. I don't need to see Loomis treating Michael from 6 to 21. I don't need to see that. I got everything you need to know about Michael and Dr. Loomis, in my opinion. Everything you need to know about their relationship and what kind of a patient he was and what kind of a doctor Loomis was and how he thinks about all of this is literally in that 60-second monologue. It's all there. It is literally all there. When you break it down and you really listen to what he's saying, it's all there. And I don't think we need to know any more than that.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
Agreed. And I agree with MAGA Cat. I was in love with Molly Ringwald in the 80s. Who wasn't? I 100% agree with that.
Molly Ringwald.
Molly Ringwald. She still looks great. She still looks,
Yep, she does.
She doesn't have the vibrant red hair, though, that she had back then. I think it was a little bit lighter the last time I saw her.
She's probably dyed it. I mean,
Yeah.
Fast Forwards 29 sends in another $9.99. Thank you, buddy. He says, I think your whole idea of the 1950s concept is interesting and would be intrigued to see it. I have been enjoying your what if ideas. You two would be great making movies together with your ideas. Well, hey, you fund it, we'll make it.
Exactly. You fund it, we'll make it. As long as neither one of us have to get the vaccine to cross the border, we're good to go.
But that's something that you need to, I mean,
it would be cool if, in all seriousness, it would be cool because I agree with that statement because I do think our ideas that we bounce off of each other that, financially and look, who's doing that right now, and they're doing pretty good with it. I haven't really watched their movies, but I know they've gotten some good reviews. I am going to watch the new Gina Carano movie when it comes out because I love me some Gina. oh my God, Ben Shapiro. Thank you. The Real Daily Wire. They're producing movies and making movies.
I've heard that. Yeah.
You know, and I haven't heard anything like bad about it. Again, I haven't. Nothing has caught my interest yet to say, yeah, I want to sit down and watch this, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It hasn't caught my interest to watch it, but I've seen the trailer for the Western film, which I love Westerns. You know, I'm all down for a good Western, and like I said, I love Gina Carano. So I will watch that. And I think you will begin to see more of that, you know, as, you know, technology gets better and cameras get better, that, you know, the days of relying on Hollywood, you know, and the backing of Hollywood may be far and few between, because I do think if financially you and I were able to do that, I think we could crank out a lot of fucking great shit. I do. I'm not just saying that like to half-ass it. I just think that when you and I start breaking down ideas and we're in the middle of something that, you know, I know both of our end game isn't to release something that's going to be shit, you know, because you and I would sit there and look at each other like, no, this is fucking shit. Let's reshoot it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
That's the kind of conversations we would have with each other. We both know, like, no, this is not fucking working. Let's get it right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas like a lot of studios now just put out stuff just to, I mean, honestly, I only get excited about a couple movies a year. You know what I mean? One of them's already come and gone with the Batman. You know, Scream was cool. You know, I got to enjoy that with you guys, but you know, there's a few movies that I'm looking forward to. I'm obviously the Elvis flick, you know, it's coming out in June. I'm looking forward to that. It's not a movie, but I will say the Devil's got me not somewhat excited to subscribe to them in May, but after seeing the Obi-Wan trailer, I'm like, okay, like I'm on board, but I'm so hesitant. Like with Disney Star Wars, I'm like, I don't want to get too excited because I'm afraid that I'm just going to get let down. But I just think that a lot of Hollywood just doesn't, I mean, they do produce a lot of good shit, and there's a lot of good independent films out there that we just don't get the exposure to, that even myself, I sometimes will just dive deep into Sundance stuff and just look for shit. You know, and but yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement that if you and I, it's unfortunate, you know, if you know, I actually after what your prime minister did, I don't know if I want to be a Canadian. It's just too bad. No, you don't live in Georgia.
No, no. But it's more.
I say that jokingly. I don't mean that.
Yeah, no, I know. We're just joking about, but it's yeah, no, it's you know, a lot of these ideas are cool ideas for sure. Let me see here. Wait, did we get that one? Okay, I see. So Fast Forward's 29, another $9.99. Thank you, buddy. Says, have you all seen Body Parts 1991? My girlfriend and I watched it the other night for the first time for me in many years and enjoyed it. I didn't realize Brad Dourif was in it, which was pretty cool. I have seen that movie, but not probably since 91. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't really remember it, unfortunately. Fast Forwards. Brandon Barry sends in $4.99, says, Dave, Tony, do you prefer IMAX or Dolby Cinema? I don't know if I'm going to say IMAX. Probably. I
don't really care, to be honest with you. Where did we see? We saw the Batman in IMAX, and it was good. I'm trying to think. See, the problem is the Spider-Man, we saw that, and I'm trying to think when the last time I haven't seen a movie in IMAX, which has been a few years because I only saw Spider-Man No Way Home last year and the Batman. That's it. So it's been a few years. When you don't do something for a long period of time, you almost forget what the experience is like. You know what I mean? Like, and my last two actual in theater experiences were IMAX. And it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care, but because it's been so long since I've seen a movie not in IMAX, I don't know. I didn't realize it's been a couple years, you know, because with COVID and the lockdowns and everything.
Right. I got you. Yeah. The theaters just opened up here about a few weeks ago. They just opened back up. Fast Forwards 289 says, wish I could, guys, but seriously, someone from Hollywood needs to reach out to y'all and give a chance, or at least listen to your ideas maybe one day. Appreciate that, buddy. MM78 sends in 99 cents. Thanks. Appreciate that very much. Supporting the channel like that. Where are we? Well, we can go another 15 minutes, take it to 2 hours, and then call it a night.
Sure.
Let's do that. So 15 minutes left in the show. I wish I had a thing that was like 15 minutes left in the show. I don't think I have like a little bell. Boom, boom, boom.
Michael Myers, do I think Halloween Ends would do bad in the box office because of Dune 2 and Black Adam's being in the same month? No, I think because Halloween fans will be loyal to Halloween and go see Halloween like I am. I'm not going to go see Dune, and I'm not going to go see Black Adam. I don't have it, but I know there's fans of Dune, and I know there's obviously, I think Black Adam is the Rock movie, right? The comic book movie that's coming out.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I know there's people that are going to go see that, but Halloween fans, and right now Michael's at the peak of his popularity, and this is Halloween Ends. So it's the end of the trilogy here with David Gordon Green. I think it's going to do fine.
No, it'll be fine. It's not, it'll fine. Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll do fine. Let me see here.
Ooh, Dave, when are you going to make your Halloween kill/end fan film concept called The Shape?
Never.
Never. There you go.
No, because it would cost $5 million to make it. So it's not going to happen. Making movies is not cheap, folks. Making movies is not cheap. So, no, it's never, it's never going to happen.
Never, huh? Like ever?
Never. No, I don't. I've been getting asked that a lot lately, actually, if I'm going to make another Halloween fan film or a Halloween fan film. And I'll say this again. I have no desire to. And the primary reason for that is because I don't, I'm just not, it's Halloween. And I say this not because I'm not a fan. I say it because I am a fan. I'm just a little
burnt out
of Halloween a bit, because it is so, like all the time. And I will say that, and it's saturated. That's the reason why I chose to do Black Christmas instead of Halloween, was because nobody had done a Black Christmas fan film. Now I think there are like two now. I think it's us and some young kid made a small one, which was kind of funny. But there's no, I just don't have the desire to do it. And now that I've done a movie like Billy, with the production value it had, and everything we put into it, and like I always say, made a real movie. That's sort of, I've set the bar for myself now. So I mean, yes, I could always go out with my phone and shoot something fun, sure, but I don't really want to do that anymore. Each movie I do from here on in, whether it's another Indiegogo produced fan film or not, it needs to be at a certain level. And I know there are people that think, well, but if you did that, you could, raise 150. And I get it. I get it's Halloween. I know it's Halloween. I just don't have the desire. I don't have the desire. I really want to, at my age, almost 43, I'm hoping that I will somewhere down the road soon be able to transition into making movies that I can, get paid to make, and make money from. Because when you make a fan film, especially when, and although I don't want to speak for him, I think I can say this and he would agree. Vincent DeSanti has just launched his Indiegogo campaign for Never Hike Alone 2. And, he's looking to raise $150,000 US. So about 200,000 Canadian.
Jesus.
But he's making a feature length film. And here's the thing that's pocket change. That's nothing. Like $150,000, $200,000 is nothing for a movie.
Yeah. But to raise that's a lot.
For sure. Well, he's already raised about 40,000 of it, and it's only been up for a day. He'll do it. No problem, because people love Friday the 13th and Jason, and he's got the cred of the last two films. And so, yeah, he'll raise it. I have no issues that he'll do, or no, doubt that he'll do it. But the thing is that when you are making a movie like Never Hike Alone or Dylan's New Nightmare, which is coming down the pipe soon, or It's Me, Billy, or whatever it is, as I've said 1,000 times, we're making real movies. So, everything about it, the logistics, the scheduling, the cast, the crew, it could be the only thing that makes it a fan film. The only thing that makes it a fan film is the name, is we just don't own the IP. But everything about it is totally professional through and through. And it's the same with what he's done as well. And so it's a lot of work. And when you're independent and you're not backed by a studio, and you don't have the resources or the money that a studio has, it is a lot. It's great. We wouldn't rather be doing anything else. I mean, I'll tell you right now, shooting and creating and making It's Me, Billy was one of the best times I've ever had in my life. But it was mentally and physically exhausting because you are spearheading it all. You are the studio and you are doing everything. And that's great because then you have full creative control, which is amazing. But it's exhausting. It's great. And like I said, but it's exhausting. So to be able to continue, like Vince's goal, obviously, Vince doesn't want to make fan films for the rest of his life. I mean, Vince is a professional working out in Los Angeles. He's worked on American Horror Story and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he's a pro. And he has his own independent production company, Womp Stomp Films, and he's made these fan films to, because there's a desire and it's a childhood thing for him to come true and all that. And he's using these movies as portfolio pieces, as, pitches to be able to say, hey, look what I can do. I can raise money. I can raise funds. Look at the quality, that I'm producing. That's what we did with Billy. But the goal is never to just sit in a world of fan films because we can't make money. Vince can't make a penny off of. So think about all the hard work that goes into it, the time you've got to take away, the mental exhaustion, the physical exhaustion, the phone calls, the meetings. You're making a real movie and you're not making a dime. You're not even making a dime from box office because there is no box office. You literally make nothing. Bruce and I literally made nothing. Zero. And as a matter of fact, even though we raised $64,000, we still put in our own money into it. So it's one of those things where, and now that Vince has set the bar for himself, right? He made Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow. That's, every movie he makes, that's what he's got to go out and do. So eventually you want to be able to make movies that you can profit from, original movies, where you are getting paid and you are making, bits and pieces of some money from Amazon rentals or, wherever, right? Maybe Netflix, picks it up and it's, it's totally awesome. But fan films are great.
No, I mean,
but you
I
certainly
get what you're
don't.
saying.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So when I think of a Halloween fan film, it's my desire to not do it is not that I don't think I'm capable of doing it at that level and delivering something totally awesome. I think I'm capable of doing that. But I look at myself now, I'm going to be 43. If I'm going to make another fan film, I would rather, to be honest with you, I would rather complete the Billy story because that would be nice to be able to bookend that. Because obviously, in case you haven't noticed, it's clearly incomplete. Would like to bookend that. And then, so if I am going to make another fan film, it would be that. But I want to make something original. I feel that I'm ready and to do that. So we'll see. But yeah, I appreciate the support and the make another Halloween fan film. It's like, guys, I just, and not to put that much effort into that. And, I got to be really passionate about it. I got to be really passionate about it. And at this present time, I'm just not passionate.
Man, I get you because I mean, the only time I talk about Halloween now is when I'm on here. I'm way past burnt out on the subject that I just, it's only here. That's it. It's not that I'm not a fan of it. Of course, I'm always going to be a fan of it. I definitely, when Ends comes out this year, I'm telling you what, it's going to be shove it away for a while. And
I think it is. I think it's like I always say, and I know you agree. It's not, there are just different kinds of fans, right? There are fans that are obsessed with, listen, there are Star Wars fans that know everything, that know all the ins and outs and all the books and the comics and the video games and the lores and the this, and they're just obsessed with everything. I tuned in one time to a Star Wars podcast. I'd never heard of it, but I saw it on YouTube. I forget what it was called. I tuned into it, and I knew these guys were talking about things that I was not familiar with. And they were talking about stuff. And I watched about half an hour of it. And every character they mentioned, every story they were talking about, scenario, situation, whatever, everything, every single thing they were talking about, I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about. No idea. No idea. And I knew they were talking Star Wars, but I had no idea. They were talking about, I don't know, the game, the books and this, all. I had no idea. So there's just different levels of fandom, right? We're all fans, just some are more into certain things than others. And I'm okay. I've often said, and I know that you're like this too, once Halloween Ends is done, of course, the box office will determine it. But I actually, as a fan, I'm okay if we never get a Michael Myers film ever again.
But Dave!
I know. I think, do I have it here? Do I have my But Dave here? Where is it?
But Dave!
But I'm okay, not because I'm not a fan, but because I am a fan. And
you're not a real fan, Dave.
I know. There are some people that would say that.
You're getting an email now. It's coming.
Oh, it's totally coming. But I feel content. I feel complete. I have a lot of Halloween films now with many different timelines. I have good movies and bad movies and different interpretations of the character, and I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm totally okay if they never make another Halloween Michael Myers movie ever again. They obviously will eventually, but I'm okay if they don't. And it's just because my fan, I'm okay. I can watch all the old shit and be just as happy watching that again, because I think too, it's also because I don't think there's anything left for the character. What can you do for the character without completely changing it? And again, circling back to the whole point of this show today, that's why I think your idea is great. Because it breathes new life into it from a different angle, but you're still kind of telling the story, keeping the Halloween DNA there. I don't want to see a Michael Myers story.
No, Dave, I want young Michael killing Judith, then going after Laurie.
I don't want Michael to go after, like, there are some people that have said, wouldn't it be great if Laurie dies in this one and then it's Allison that he continues to chase. And I'm like, I don't want to see another 2 or 3 movies with Allison now. Like, Jesus Christ, what's going to happen? I mean, Michael's going to be 98.
Listen, you know how I want Laurie to die in this film? I want her to fucking trip over a fucking sidewalk and fall on her head.
Yeah.
That's it. Trips and falls.
Trips, falls over a sidewalk. Anyway, we only have a couple more minutes. Let me get the super chats.
We can go a little longer there because I know yeah.
I know. I went off on a tangent. Mohammed Nabil sends in 25 AED. Dave and Tony, are you a fan of Inception? Yeah, I like Inception.
Yeah, that's good. It's not one of my favorite Nolan movies, but yeah, that's good.
Yep.
I think like out of all of Nolan's, I'm a big fan of Interstellar. That's probably my favorite.
Right.
I can watch that movie at any time and not get enough of it.
Good film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Another 25 AED from Muhammad says Robert De Niro or Al Pacino, and what's your top movie of each of the two? Ooh, it depends.
For me, it's easy. It's Pacino. I'm not a big De Niro guy. I mean, I respect him as an actor. I respect the body of work that he's put out there, of course. Yeah. But for me, it will be Pacino. And I mean, without being like too like, I mean, it's hard not to look past The Godfather. It's really, I mean, it's one of my all-time favorite movies, and or Scarface. And then there's like, there's a few that are in there, like Serpico. That's a good movie with Pacino in it.
Mm-hmm.
A Dog Day Afternoon. In fact, I think that's the one, or Serpico. I can't remember. I think it's one of those two that has him and Fredo in it.
Elijah Wood.
No, Fredo from The Godfather.
Oh, Fredo from The Godfather. I thought you just said a character. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fredo from the
Elijah Wood. No. Yeah.
Not that Fredo. Fredo from The Godfather.
Yes, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, and I think in my movie archives that I have in my collection, I have more Pacino movies. Yeah, Dog Day Afternoon. Okay, yeah. Serpico.
I tend to lean a little more De Niro, I think. But I do love Pacino a lot. I think Scent of a Woman is a great Pacino movie too.
Yeah, it's got him and Keanu.
No, that's
right?
No. Keanu Reeves in Scent of a Woman? I thought that was
Keanu? No. Oh no, that's Devil's. That's
the Devil's.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I almost said Devil's Reject.
Advocate. The Devil's Advocate. Yeah, that's right. Hooah! Great ass. I think that's it.
Any Given Sunday. That's another great Pacino movie.
Good, yep.
Jamie Foxx.
But De Niro. Let me see here. Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking through all.
I mean, I like him obviously.
I have I have Meet the Parents, which that was, or Meet the Fockers. That was I have Raging Bull.
Raging Bull was great. Taxi Driver, of course, he was great in.
Yeah.
He was also great in, obviously.
Copland is a really good movie.
Copland is great with De Niro. You blew it.
Actually, that's one of Stallone's probably better performances.
Terrific
really is.
performance.
If no one's seen
Stallone.
Copland, watch it. It's probably Stallone's best performance as an actor ever.
Yeah. Yes, it's fantastic. I liked, obviously, Heat, of course, with both Pacino and De Niro, but I also liked Casino, obviously, which is an ensemble piece.
I didn't like Casino. I know.
Goodfellas.
Casino.
Goodfellas, I thought was great. Obviously, another ensemble piece. I thought he was great in The Untouchables as Al Capone as well. Raging Bull, of course. I mean, regardless of whether you like Pacino or De Niro, they are two of the greatest actors of all time. And will go down as such. So, and they're up there now too.
Oh, that's right. I got Dog Day Afternoon and Serpico. He plays the cop, or detective, whatever. And Dog Day Afternoon, they're the bank robbers. I always get those two fucking mixed up. But those are really good, really, really good Pacino movies. But man, favorite as far as it's Godfather. It's just like. It's Godfather. It's Michael Corleone. A Godfather 1 and 2. Forget 3. It was just fuck that.
Even the Blanc sends in $4.99. Says when they strike the fatal blow to Michael and Halloween Ends, his dying gasp will be the Wilhelm yell. That's right, the Wilhelm scream. Ah! That would be amazing. I would thoroughly enjoy that. And Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb says De Niro in Backdraft. Yes.
Backdraft's good. I think of Kurt Russell, is good. And what's his name? The Baldwin boy.
Billy Baldwin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Backdraft, directed by Ron Howard, I believe, directed that movie. Backdraft is a good movie.
And then Cape Fear, Yeah,
I thought Cape Fear, I didn't like it the first time I watched it. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it now.
Who's in? Oh, that's James Caan in Misery. I almost said
Misery. Yeah. Harrison Ford was thought of to be in Misery. They almost had him.
I could see that.
Misery. I could see him.
Funny. I could see him playing the James Caan character.
Totally.
Very much so.
John Candy was almost no. It was almost a love story between him and Kathy Bates. That's. All right. Did I get all the superior chats?
Yeah, I don't mind you going a couple minutes because I know you went on for a little bit there.
All right.
We can go to 8:30.
8:30. All right. We'll go to 8:30. Another 10 minutes or so. 8:30, folks. 8:30. Your last chance to get super chats in. Your last chance to send in your nude photos. Whatever you're going to send them in now so everybody can see it here in the chat room. Can you imagine? Thank God they don't have that. Thank God they don't have the ability for viewers to send in JPEGs.
I was going to say something, but I'm like, no, I don't want to get in trouble.
Let's just not get in trouble. But that'd be awful. That'd be awful. Let me see here.
Oh yeah, Razor Ramon passed away.
Oh, has he officially?
Yeah,
has he officially passed?
They're saying that here in the chat room, and I just Google searched it. Yeah, WWE made an announcement. That sucks. Guess he was going in for like a surgery or something.
I heard he was taken off life support, but that he was still alive.
No, WWE just tweeted out
just now.
Yeah. While we were streaming.
Okay, yeah. It's so weird. He went to have hip surgery, and apparently it's complications from hip surgery because of a blood clot. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Blood clots, man. Those ain't nothing to joke about.
No, he was 63, I guess. Yeah,
that's young. 63. That's younger than my parents.
A lot of wrestlers die young, don't they?
Well, actually, he would be considered old because a lot of them die in their 40s.
Well, no, yeah, but you know what I mean, though. Like they're not. They don't. I don't know. You don't see them as old men. Well, I mean, I know he's 63, but it's not that old.
Helen Park, favorite Bond movie and villain. I have never seen a Bond movie. Dave? I mean, I know like Connery played him, right? And Pierce Bronson played him. And
Connery played him.
I don't know that. Any other people
know my favorite Bond movie. To be fair, I haven't watched a lot of the old Bond movies. I think the very first Bond movie I ever saw was License to Kill, I think it's called. That's with Timothy Dalton in the 80s. And then the first Bond movie I saw in a movie theater was GoldenEye in 95 when I was 16. With Pierce Brosnan. I don't mind the Bond movies. I really enjoyed Daniel Craig as Bond. I think he had, he's less suave, more action, but he's still got the suaveness to him. Of course he's done now, but I don't know the Bond movies well enough to be able to tell you which one is my favorite and which villain. I don't know the Bond villains off by heart. I really have no idea. Like I just recently watched No Time to Die, and I can't even remember Rami Malek's name in the movie now. So I'm not sure. It's a good question, but I'm not sure. Oh,
Robert Fidoff, love your Halloween concept, meaning the 50s. What about the music? Same, new version, or a combination? I think if you're setting it in 57, as I said, I think there are, like, even I've thought of them, key specific themes, like, if you're going to kill off Bob and Linda, say they have a makeout scene in a car, like you have like a song like In the Still of the Night playing, maybe like in the afternoon as the girls are getting ready or when they're home, maybe Judith is playing an Elvis song on a 45 on her little record player. Or if they go to a malt shop, you hear a Buddy Holly song in the background. The music that I would use from 57 and 56, there's a couple of them, they're more intended to be background music. They're not kind of like Don't Fear the Reaper was in the original Halloween. It wasn't meant to drown out the scene. You just know that it was the radio was on. Don't Fear the Reaper was on.
Yep, I get you.
But Annie and Laurie were so that's where the 50s music that I would choose for this Halloween concept, that's how it would be used in the movie. But the score would be the same, except it wouldn't be the synthesizer sound. I would go to more traditional piano of the 50s, more orchestra type sound,
right?
Which would still sound the same, because if you've ever played, I play the Halloween theme all the time on my little synthesizer here. But if you were on a piano, it sounds the same. But what I might even consider doing, my grandmother, my mom's mom, she had a piano at her house, and it had this very kind of out of tune sound to it, which gave it this creepiness anytime we would play the Halloween theme on her piano. So you could even, and it was one of these old pianos that she probably had from the 50s.
Right.
And that's probably what I would do. I would find one of these old school pianos, have it just slightly out of tune to play the Halloween theme, because I think there's something offsetting and distorting about that to give it that extra creepiness. You know what I mean? Because it's almost like it's echoey. Her piano was almost echoey on itself because of that out of tune sound that it had.
Yeah. I think, I think the music should be very reminiscent of the original film in terms of its simplicity. And just leave it at that. I think it should reflect the period it's set in. So imagine if this was a movie that was made in the 50s, what would that sound like? And I think it should be, obviously it's modern and it's got a modern sort of feel to it, but it's not, it's not a big orchestra or, it fits the film nicely, I think. Yeah. I would agree with that. Michael Meyer says, Dave and Tony, do you think Avatar 2 hype has died down over the years? And do you think it would be a successful movie like the first one? Okay, here's what I have to say about Avatar 2.
I've never even seen Avatar 1, so there you go.
There you go. Okay, so I am an unabashed, unapologetic fan of the original Avatar. I don't give a frog's fat ass whether you liked it or not. I loved it. I adored it. I am not suggesting it is,
it's the greatest movie ever.
It's fantastic. I'm telling you right now, it's great. Melania, we're going to watch Avatar on repeat tonight.
Every single day for the rest of our lives.
I need you to pee all over me. No, so.
Whoa.
Well, you know the whole thing with Donald Trump. Anyway, so,
I know.
But here's the thing. So, it frustrates me a little bit when fans, because it's the same thing all the time. They don't really have anything to say other than it's like Ferngully in space, it's Dances with Wolves in space, it's Pocahontas in space, it's this, and it's like, well, yeah, but there are so many movies you love that I could destroy by telling you that, and that's this, and that's this, and that's this. I mean, very rarely are there original movies in terms of like a story we've never told. I think there's like 7 traditional stories that are told, and then there's just new and inventive and different ways to tell them. I think what really pissed people off, I do. And this is purely speculation.
Titanic?
Well, I think Avatar upset people, fanboys, because it became the highest grossing movie of all time. And I think some people mistakenly equate. No, but they get upset because they don't understand. There's certain things about the business they don't understand. And they're equating, but I didn't think it was that good. And my friend didn't think it was that good. Why is this the highest grossing movie of all time? Because yes, Avatar on its own is a traditional story we've seen before. But it was a goddamn spectacle. It was an event. It was like an amusement park ride. That's why it did well. It didn't do well because it was, this deep-seated thing we had never seen before in terms of story, and it meant something to the world, and it changed your life. And no, it was fucking Star Wars in 2009. I mean, nobody had seen anything like it in terms of the technology. The technology they used to create Avatar ceased to exist before Avatar. Okay, some of it, not all of it, obviously, but the certain cameras that they use and certain motion capture technology they use to create Avatar, nobody had seen anything like it. So yes, James Cameron is a terrific populist filmmaker. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, he creates great movies that appeal to mostly everybody. Now, that doesn't mean that if you loathe Avatar, fine, you loathe it. Great. Okay, great. But listen, it's the highest grossing motion picture still to this day. I know it had a bit of a re-release, but it's still to this day. That speaks volumes. That says something. It was a spectacle. It was an event.
One of the Star Wars movies beat it.
No, Endgame passed it by a little bit, and then Avatar had a re-release last year or the year before, and it overtook it again. Is that why
Marvel fanboys are like, no, it didn't suck.
Re-release shouldn't count. No, that shouldn't count. Right, only when it's for. But when Endgame gets a re-release and hops Avatar again, you'll see all the Marvel, fanboys going, oh, see this. You can't have your cake and eat it too. It either matters or it doesn't. But anyway, so here's the thing, though. Okay, so yes, it was an event. It was a spectacle. It was amazing. It was so cool, and he's terrific at creating fun stories, good characters, that we can watch and enjoy, and the spectacle and the worlds and the world building. It was just fun. It's not meant to change your fucking life. But yes, it became the highest grossing movie because it became an event. Okay. Avatar didn't have the long-lasting pop culture footprint that something like a Star Wars or Marvel has. Okay, sure, fine. I actually think that might bode well for it, to be honest with you, because we're not oversaturated with it. We're not sick of it. Do I think Avatar 2, I actually laugh, really, when it comes to people who are doubting it, who don't care about it. I mean, maybe you don't care about it, and maybe your friend doesn't care about it, and maybe everybody you know doesn't care about it. But a movie doesn't make $2 billion, $2.8 billion on the cusp of $3 billion for nobody giving a shit about it. That's not how it happens. So do I think that there is a large sleeping fan base out there? Yes. Do I think this is going to become the highest grossing movie of all time? No, not necessarily.
Billion.
Do I think it's going to crack $2 billion? Not necessarily. But if you are sleeping on James Cameron, who made Titanic, who that in 97 and 98, in 1998, it crossed $2 billion. Before there was social media, before there was like the internet was relatively in its infancy.
Before movies could make $1 billion.
Yeah, before movies made $1 billion.
Now I'm like unimpressed. Like I know the Batman might get to $1 billion.
I don't think
maybe. I'm not the Batman. Jesus Christ. Spider-Man might get to $2 billion.
$2 billion.
I think is what I meant to say.
It's on the cusp.
It's on the cusp. But you know, so many, and that's great, and it's a great movie. It's probably, I would say, of all the Marvel movies, it's probably my favorite. It just came out today on the iTunes, and I'm going to watch it after we're done here tonight. And yeah, I mean, you know, and I'm not a really, you know, big, you know, comic book person, but so many movies nowadays, like the Joker got to $1 billion. Who the fuck thought the Joker was going to get to the billion? You know what I mean? Yep. But I just think that we see so much of it now that I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Sure,
like, it's not,
sure. Yeah. Well, there's
like you said, but like what you just said with Titanic doing it in 97, it was like, what the fuck?
Right now, but the thing is that people have to understand is that Avatar 2, again, doesn't need to make $2.8 billion for it to be a success. So all you fans out there, if Avatar makes, let's say, $1.5 billion, that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Do not think that that is a failure. If Avatar 2 makes $1.5 billion, you're going to get Avatar 3 whether you fucking like it or not, because it's already shot and it's almost in the can anyway. Right. But the thing is that I just think to be sleeping on this is ridiculous. And to understand that there are a lot of people out there that are excited for this. They're waiting for this. They haven't had anything excited to be about, which is why you're not hearing them. It's why you're not seeing them. But that doesn't mean they don't exist. It's like all the Fred heads that are out there right now, all the Elm Street. That's why, you know, I've often said that, listen, Michael may be the king of the castle right now, but if Friday the 13th and Elm Street can get their act together, look out. Look out. You know, there are people out there that do not like Michael Myers, that like Freddy and Jason way more than Michael Myers, but they have nothing to get excited about. So you don't hear from them. You don't see them. You don't see them commenting. You don't hear from them. They're just waiting. They're sitting there. Avatar, I think it's a similar thing. And the technology that James Cameron used to make Avatar 2 ceased to exist before Avatar 2. He actually shot underwater. He didn't shoot what's known, I think it's known as dry to wet, I think it is, where they shoot you dry, motion capture, right? You're on like wires and shit and this kind of stuff. And then they digitally make it look like you're in the water. That probably would have been the cheaper option. He was advised to do that. They didn't do it. He actually shot underwater. So everything, the light coming through and how it's going to look and how it hits the water and how it hits the lens and everything, is going to look fucking spectacular. Doesn't mean the movie's going to be great, but I just think it's hilarious when I see so many people hating on a terrific spectacle and a great time at the movies. And hang on, I just want to finish. And sleeping on James Cameron, who really hasn't made a bad movie, and he's got two of the highest grossing movies of all time. I know. I'm like, and you're sleeping on this guy?
It's the Marvel fan base. I mean, look, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but like, I mean, it's like I said, in the Marvel run of movies, okay, and I'm not a comic book guy, but from like Iron Man to now with Spider-Man No Way Home, I thought Spider-Man No Way Home, it's my favorite of that it's not, I mean, it would never surpass like any of the Batman movies, because that's my bread and butter. But to get in those types of conversations with some of the Marvel fan base out there, it's just like, oh my God, because they're, like you said, they're so ridiculously passionate about this shit that it becomes argumentative. But I'm like, dude, I'm not into it like you know what I mean? Like, I don't read the comics. I'm not, so yeah, I can imagine what you deal with when it comes with, comparing it to like the Avatar and, the box office and whatnot. Yeah. They get defensive.
Well, they do because people get defensive about box office because it really is the only measuring stick that fans have that they can point to. Like, it's like teams, right? So if you are, it's like sports. And the only thing that you can measure on a movie that isn't subjective, movies are subjective. Whether you like a movie or not is very subjective, right? It's art. Not everybody's going to like the same thing. But something you cannot, debate is how much a movie makes at the box office. And I think for many years, it's starting to wane now, but I think for many, and that's thanks to the internet and for people online who actually talk about this. But I think for many years, people equated box office results to quality. And sometimes it can mean that if a movie makes a lot of money at the box office, that can sometimes mean that it's a really good movie and a lot of people love it. But it doesn't always mean that, especially opening weekend numbers. That doesn't mean people like the movie. It just means a lot of people went to see it. And now I think people are really understanding the nuances of that. But box office really is the only thing we can point to that measures things objectively. And I think a lot of fans tend to point to box office like they're looking at the stats of a team. And I think if their team does well at the box office, that makes them feel good because I really like the movie and it's doing well. Yay, it's, and yes, it could mean, and it could, from a business point of view, you want your favorite movie to do well because then that likely means that the studio is going to make another one. But I don't think that's how fans really think about it. I think it really becomes tribal and it becomes very team-like. And I think people want Avatar to fail, not because they want Avatar to fail, but because they don't want Avatar to, they don't want the opposing team. Marvel stuff. Right. They don't want the opposing team to win the championship. They want their team to win the championship. And it becomes tribal and very sports like that because that's the only thing we can measure objectively is box office, because you cannot measure taste and whether you like a movie or not, because that is purely subjective. And I just think it's silly. I think the hate for Avatar, I've never understood it. I mean, I understand it, but I don't understand it. I think it is so overblown. It's so misguided. And I think it's very juvenile in a lot of ways. I think Avatar was a terrific cinematic experience. That is exactly what it was meant to do. It did, from a terrific visionary filmmaker. And I can't wait to see what he does with this one. And, it's not necessarily going to be, again, it's a very different world we live in now with streaming and the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. So no, is Avatar 2 going to make, $3 billion? Probably not. We live in a very different world, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to deliver another great time at the movies, another spectacle at the movies with a perfectly fine story, and
isn't Kate Winslet supposed to be in this one?
She is. All the returning cast is coming back. Kate Winslet, she was not in the first one, but she's on board as well. I just can't wait to see when that first trailer drops. You'll always get people that are like, sucks. Well, because it's juvenile high school. People don't understand. That's just what it is, right? You'll always get that. But I bet you anything, when that first trailer comes out, if you really sit and watch it objectively and just put your aside for a moment.
No, Dave, it sucks.
You'll always get that. But I bet you that first trailer is going to be like, wow, that's really cool. Holy shit. That would be cool to go see. That'd be fun to go see. It's not supposed to change your fucking life. Like, Avatar is so dumb. It's dumb. Like, okay, so Avatar is Fern Gully, Pocahontas, and Dances with Wolves in Space. But when when Pocahontas came out, nobody was like, oh, it's Dances with Wolves, but, it's with the natives. I mean, nobody was comparing that, right? Just enjoy it for what it is on its own. Because like I always say, you little Star Wars fanboys out there, I could totally destroy your childhood if I went into detail and told you to where Star Wars came from. You'd be like, no, Star Wars is completely 100% original. There's never been another movie and there's never been another story like it before. No.
You're wrong, Dave. You're wrong, Dave.
It's been told 1,000 times over before, just not in that way. And that's what I thought Avatar was. Yes, I got the story. I get it. It's tradition. I get it. But we've never seen it like this before. So why not just sit back, shut up, eat your popcorn, and enjoy it? No. Go to your room. Go to your room.
You know what? On a positive note, though, the fucking GOAT is back, baby. Tom Brady coming back. One more year. Yeah.
If he wins another Super Bowl, I hope
I'm gonna love it.
Yeah, but I hope the headline's not going to be Brady comes out of retirement to win.
To win another.
Yeah, he wasn't fucking retired. That
he hasn't even
count.
missed a practice.
That's what I'm saying. That doesn't count. It was
I know
the
this whole thing of them comparing him to what Brett Favre did. I'm like, no, Favre actually retired, and I think he missed some time, like Michael Jordan retired for a couple of years, came back, and then I think he retired again after the 98 championship and came back to close out his time with the Wizards. Brady literally was gone for a month. From a month in February. He hasn't even missed any times, but I was excited to see that last night. That made my day.
And Booster Seed here says, where did Star Wars come from? Well, the movie Uranus, Star Wars. No, but I'll say this: the movies, the presentation of Star Wars. Nobody had ever seen anything like it before. That's true, and those types of visual effects, nobody had ever seen anything like it before. But the classic themes of what we were being shown in terms of the hero's journey, the father and son. No, of course we didn't know it was father and son in the first movie, but the hero's journey and the father and son, and it's a very. If you look at what inspired Lucas and the themes that are running through even Superman, Star Wars, these are classic tales. They're just being told this way. So there's reasons why viewers gravitate towards it or gravitate towards the themes or the characters and the relationships. It's because they're long-lasting, tried and true themes that have been told for hundreds of thousands of years, and just not like this before, right? So there's really no new stories. There's just new ways to tell them, and that's why when I watched Avatar, I get it. I get the story, but we hadn't seen it told like that before. Holy shit. What a fucking spectacle. I was sitting there going, this is amazing. Holy shit. And it just disappoints me that people are like, I'm going to get hate mail now from people going, Dave, you're so arrogant.
Of course you will.
You're so arrogant. You're so pretentious. You're so, oh, come on. I'm busting your balls. Come on. We're just having fun here.
You suck, Dave.
Frank's like, no more Avatar question from now on. Frank, listen here, you.
Hey, it's actually more refreshing to listen to Dave talk about Avatar than to repeat a Halloween
dude, I'd rather talk about Avatar than Halloween for the 90th time. Cody Snyder, $5 says, for the last minute extension. Well, we already went over by like 10 minutes. We're already over by 10 minutes. Whatever. Fuck. It is what it is.
It's fine.
But anyway, should we call it there? I guess we should call it there. Oh, wrong one.
You're offended?
Apparently I'm offended. Wrong one.
Apparently Dave is offended by himself.
I'm offended by myself. Wait a second. Okay. Wait, where are we here? Hang on. Where's my fucking... There we go. All right, that's going to do it for episode 145.
Next week, we'll be back watching Halloween 1978.
Yeah,
we've never watched
and for the next 6 weeks, we'll be watching Halloween 78. No, it's not true. People right now are going, oh!
Yes!
No!
Literally, everyone just had the thrill of victory and agony of defeat in a matter of 10 seconds. That's it.
Oh, Reese Wilson, my man Reese Wilson from Down Under sends in $7.99. Says, okay, you spoke your mind about Avatar. Now give us 10 minutes of True Lies. Oh, True Lies is amazing. True Lies is amazing.
That is kind of a $7.99 chat. You can do that.
Well, we can talk about, I don't know what there is to say about it. I will simply say that True Lies is a great film.
Turn off the music.
There we go. True Lies is a great movie. James Cameron film, one of my favorites. Too bad they didn't do a sequel, but I think a sequel is 25 years past its bedtime. A sequel should have come in like when Arnold did Eraser, which I love, by the way. That was 96. So in and around that time is when we should have seen a sequel.
Right around when Jamie Lee did H2O, right?
Right. In and around that time is when we should have seen a sequel to True Lies. But True Lies is a great movie. But it's also a great standalone movie, which is great.
Yep.
And let's be honest, James Cameron doesn't do sequels. Now, he did
Aliens.
Well, he did Aliens, but that's not a sequel to his own movie, right? Sure. So he's only done Terminator 2 to Terminator, and now he's doing Avatar 2 to Avatar. But you look at Aliens, I mean, yes, that's a sequel, but that's not his sequel to his own film, right? The Abyss, right? He didn't do a follow-up to The Abyss. Nope. He didn't do a sequel to True Lies, right? Obviously, you're not going to do a sequel to Titanic.
You could.
Well, I guess you could. But it's great to see, True Lies is a great movie. It's a great movie. Totally. I like it. For sure. Yeah. Booster Seat sends in $1 supporting the channel. Appreciate that. All right. That's going to do it now for episode 145. You guys are amazing. Thank you to all the Super Chat questions that came in today, the non-Super Chat questions that came in today. Thank you to our great moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Shore, Darren Sands, and Chris Faber. Really, really appreciate you guys handling the chat room this evening. And you guys and gals and everybody in between are amazing. Thank you so much. Tony and I will be back next week, Monday night, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's always 6 o'clock, folks. I know it was 8 o'clock for a couple of our watch-alongs there, but it is usually always 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, we usually start the show around 10 after 6, 6:15. That's just to let people file into the room. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just what's going on. But yeah, Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, this was fun. Looking forward to next week.
Good show. All right, folks, have a great rest of your Monday night, and Tony and I will talk to you soon.